Hello, very good morning to you. You're welcome to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 Citi FM. We're also live on Facebook and other socials. My name is Selam Adunu. The show, as always, is live and interactive. You can join the conversation via WhatsApp line 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. We'll be happy to hear from you and share your views with the rest of the world. Last week around this time, the New Patriotic Party, the governing party, had started their election to elect their flag bearer or leader of the party for the next 4 years. As it turned out, by the end of the day, Bawumia garnered 61% of the vote against closest contender, candidate Japan, who garnered some 37%. That was the showdown that was expected on that day. As we speak, Bawumia is now the leader of the New Patriotic Party. He's also the vice president of the country. The aim or the objective of the party for Bawumia himself, the president, and indeed the party chairman, as espoused on that day, is that they want to break the eight. We ask, are we really in for breaking the eight, or we are upholding the eight, or we are ending a duopoly? Ending of duopoly means that there is a third force from somewhere which is hoping to do the magic. And that third force we will introduce to you, or we will tell you about soon. Of course, you already know about that third force. But how is the NPP supposed to position itself with a new flag bearer and a new leader now against a sitting president? What must President Akufo-Addo be doing to give more expression to the leadership of Bawumia? So Bawumia becomes his leader, whilst he also remains his leader as president. Bawumia is his leader as flag bearer. How should that combination work? How should they fashion a workable relationship to ensure that the objective of running the state is achieved and the objective also of breaking the eight is achieved? Bawumia's election appears to have put paid to the long-held view that the NPP is an account party. Really, does that conclude the matter in respect of that? We will deal with it. How does the NPP now appear? A more nationalistic party, a party that is ready now to give representation or to offer people from all parts of the country a place around the table? And has that really been in doubt? We will look at all of that today. What has John Mahama been doing? Is he now ready, or now that he sees his contender from the other side, what must he be doing? Must they adjust or tweak any of their strategies, or they expected Bawumia to win already, so there's no need to tinker with their strategy? The movement for change, best from the NPP, Alan Kojo Chemantin, appears to have hit the ground running as well with his yellow campaign, retail politicking, as one of my guests has called it, moving from place to place in Ashanti region, in Greater Accra, and a few other places. Are they the third force we need to break the duopoly? We have all of that for you today. Also, on the second segment of the program, we'll still look at the Akosombo dam spillage matter. As we speak, a team from Citi FM, Citi TV are on their way into various communities affected by the floods in the lower in the lower part of the Volta region. The discussion about resettlement has not really come up. Is that really the solution, permanently resettling the people? Because as we've heard from the Energy Minister in Parliament, if the situation gets worse next year, the spillage will be done again, which means that we cannot afford to compromise the sanctity of the dam. The dam must be protected because the consequences of its breaking will be even dire on the economy and the social impact of it we cannot contain. So the spillage, there is no question about it. It has to be done. How must it be done the next time? Shouldn't the people be resettled so that they are placed at higher grounds, so that in case of a spillage of this magnitude, they are better off than we have seen? How are the relief efforts going? What is government's job really in this, NADMO, etc.? The 20-member or so interministerial committee, what have they been doing? People on the ground say they see very little of their efforts. We will look at all of that on this morning's program. Again, my name is Selam Adunu. I take a short break, return, introduce my guest, provide some updates, and then we'll get a discussion underway. Once again, you're welcome. This is The Big Issue. You're welcome back to the big issue. Two issues on the table today. The MPP's election over the weekend. They elected Mahmoud Bawumia. He's now the leader of the party. He has another leader who is his president. So leader of the party and leader of the state, how are they going to work together? What must Nana Akufo-Addo be doing to give more expression to Bawumia's leadership as party leader to help him break the eight, which indeed is the objective of the party? What does this election mean to minority representation in high-level politics in the MPP? Before, we were told, and it seemed to be so, that the MPP appeared like an account party. Now, the topmost job in that party has been given to a Nodna, completing the Dankwa Buzia Dombo trinity. What does that mean to the minority groups which support the MPP? Does it mean that now everybody from any part of the country can have a go at the topmost job in the party? Can Bawumia really be the one, or is he really the one to break the eight, given all the things he said in the past about the economy, etc., and where the economy is right now? Does he have the credibility to lead the party into a victory for 2024 or in 2024? Many have said that that election will be fought on the economy, living conditions, etc. How is your living condition? And if given the opportunity, would you want a return of John Mahama, or you will want Mahmoud Bawumia to ascend to the presidency? Or the movement for change, Alan Chemantin, who has come from the MPP, but is asserting his own views and his own vision right now. Indeed, Bawumia says he will be his own man. He has his own vision. That is what he will run with. We'll subject all of that to some analysis. But just to provide you some updates, or before that, we'll look at the Akosombo dam spillage as well. The question about resettlement of the victims, that hasn't really come up. What is the plan for resettlement? Will resettlement permanently or in a lasting fashion resolve the problem we've seen in case there's a spillage next year or sometime soon? Because we cannot afford to see all over again what we are seeing now next year should the conditions, play back. There should really be a solution to this so that the people in those areas who are suffering this with no fault of theirs can live a life of dignity. All right. Let me provide you some updates, and then we get a discussion started. It's over a year, or in just over a year, Ghanaians face a critical decision as they determine President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's successor after his two-term presidency. The major political parties, the NDC and the MPP, along with a presumed third force, Movement for Change, have chosen their presidential candidates for the 2024 election. All three candidates, John Dramani Mahama, former president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, current vice president, and Alan John Kojo Chemantin, former trades and industry minister, appear poised to battle it out with what political watchers say will be a very complex contest on all fronts. For candidate John Mahama, who garnered 98.9% of his party's presidential primary votes, will be the fourth time. This will be the fourth time he will appear on the ballot, having contested in 2012, 2016, and 2020, giving him a head start ahead of his contenders in terms of popularity among voters. Dr. Bawumia, who won his internal contest with a 61.47%, however, will be coming into his first presidential contest with the incumbency advantage, at the same time the baggage, good or bad, of the government. Mr. Chemantin, who since 2007 has been seeking to lead the MPP until September, when he quit the party, having placed third in the party Super Conference, will be hoping to be the third force to break the political dominance of the NDC and MPP. There is more in the following report.
For the first time since 2007, the New Patriotic Party will go into a major election in 2024, led by a presidential candidate not named Akufo-Addo. That mandate of NPP flag bearer has now been handed over to the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia emerged winner of the party's November 4 presidential primary with 61.47% of the votes ahead of closest contender Kennedy Japan. The Asin Central NP came in second with 37.41%, ahead of former Agric Minister Dr. Osefri Akoto and former MP for Mampong Francis Adainimo, who came in third and fourth place respectively. This NPP contest was nothing like the party had witnessed since its formation in 1992. The vice president's political career took off when he was chosen to be running mate to President Akufo-Addo and came to prominence during the 2013 election petition. For most political watchers, the 2023 presidential primary race was going to be a street fight between Dr. Bawumia and now independent presidential candidate hopeful Alan Kyerematen, who had been a perennial contestant in the NPP presidential primaries. Then the enigmatic and controversial Asin Central MP Kennedy Japong entered the race. Kennedy Japong, who calls himself a grassroots person, brought his feisty personality to the race and even beat Alan Kyerematen to second place in the Special Delegates Conference. Accusations and counter-accusations were made.
Region, one of the chairmen, he got Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Some got as high as 150,000. In Central Region, some chairman got Toyota Navara, Nissan Navara, brand new, and it cost 40,000. When you convert it, it's 440,000 Ghana cedis. And now, you are going to vote with all these people, and they will come and give you 2,000 cedis.
They've decided to adopt some new tactics. The new tactics is what? If you miss the ball, don't miss the man. That is the new tactics that they are adopting. And so, what is the tactic? They have decided to spread lies.
During the August 26 special election, Kennedy Japong promised Dr. Bawumia a showdown in the race to become flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party.
President Akosombo, member will show down. Vice President, member will show down. So, Mama chasing me agent. I'm not going to shut them.
As November 4 approached, the party took steps to present a united front. All four candidates were made to sign a bond to remain in the party regardless of the outcome of the elections. This was intended to prevent another situation like it happened with Alan Kyerematen, who left the party after the August 26 Special Congress.
We were able to get the four aspirants contesting, namely Honorable Kennedy Japong, His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Muhammad Bawumia, Dr. Akosombo, and Honorable Adenimo, all signing an undertaking. And in summary, what they signed to, and I'll read to all of you. One is to accept the primary election results. Two, to promote peace and cohesion. Three, in the event that they don't win, they will not resign from the party.
There was high expectation amongst delegates, polling agents and officials of the party on the day of voting. The exercise across the country in voting centers in all 16 regions was largely uneventful. The Presidential Elections Committee was sure that it had provided an even playing field for all contestants.
As a committee, I've ensured that we created an even playing field and a fair ground for the competition. And as we always say, victory should be won in the ring. So we created the environment such that at the end of the day, whatever rules that we need to set, we set them, and whoever wins would have won comfortably, and all the aspirants will rally behind them.
Following the closure of polls at 2 p.m., the party convened at the Accra Sports Stadium for a declaration of results by the Electoral Commission in a charged atmosphere of party supporters.
Our computation, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had 91.47%. Sorry, 61.47%. 61.47%. So, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is duly elected as the flag bearer going to 2024.
A concession speech from the losing candidates, including Kennedy Japong, followed.
Earlier on, I placed a telephone conversation with him, and then I conceded to him and congratulated him for the marvelous work that he has done to achieve this history. I'm very confident that having worked with the Vice President on all the major institutions of the government for 6 years, that he will lead us to victory come next year, 2024.
I believe the party has been fair and transparent.
Yes!
That is the only thing I've always been preaching. And I must admit, this election is fair. And my grassroots have spoken. And therefore, I accept the results in good faith.
Then after, there was a ceremony to pass on the torch of leadership to Dr. Bawumia. President Akufo-Addo, with the help of party chairman Stephen and team, passed on the baton in a short symbolic ceremony.
It is my great privilege to hand over the flag of the new patriotic party to you, Mahamudu Bawumia. There you are.
Then followed the acceptance speech from the new NPP flag bearer.
The new patriotic party will enter 2024 united and energized. We are ready to make a strong and convincing case for another term in office with a fresh mandate and a new leader. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey towards today has been exciting and at the same time fraught with challenges. I remember the auspicious day on the 14th of August 2008 when, through the visionary leadership of candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as he was then, and the MPP, I was outdoored onto the uncertain political terrain of our nation. I owe endless gratitude to President Akufo-Addo for his decision in 2008 and his undying confidence in me in the periods 2012, 2016, and 2020. That singular, consistent decision has birthed this historic moment we are witnessing tonight. I thank you, Mr. President, for believing in me.
The NPP will shift focus to the election of parliamentary candidates for orphan constituencies in December and other constituencies in February 2024.
All right, so you saw and heard that wrap of the activities of the MPP over the weekend, producing Mahamudu Bawumia as the candidate. Now my guests are seated around the table. Inus Afuseni, Honorable former MP, former Minister, former MP for Tamale Central. Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Yaboabin Asamoah. You remember that name? Yaboabin Asamoah. Now advisor to the Alan Chemantin campaign team of the Movement for Change. I don't know if that position, I don't know if there are other things to add to that position, but it's a senior advisor to Alan Kojo Chemantin, who is the leader of the Movement for Change. Also, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa. Franklin, it's been a while. Happy to have you back. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, I started with you, Haruna. I mean, last week, your party produced Mahamudu Bawumia as the flag bearer and our leader of the party. That ended a long, journey into this particular, where we are now. What really will be your impression of that race, given all the things that, happen along the line? Alan Chemantin, withdrawing from the race, resigning from the party, Boakye Jakun withdrawing from the race, citing some reasons, and all of that we've seen showdown. Eventually, the process is concluding last week with the election of Mahamudu Bawumia.
Thank you very much, Salom. First and foremost, I will say good morning to your cherished viewers out there across the length and breadth of the country and the globe. And a good morning to my former boss, former Director of Communication of the New Patriotic Party, former Member of Parliament for the good people of Adenta. And
now what?
And my senior brother, who I respect so much from the North, who is a clear demonstration of politics that you leave the scene when the sin needs you. And I respect him for that decision. Yes, the New Patriotic Party went into a contest as a result of the gap that has been left over the exit of Akufo-Addo. We opened up nominations. 10 people picked forms to contest. Eventually, we had 6. It dropped down to 4 on the basis of the circumstances that you have narrated. The party moved on to have our elections on the 4th of November. His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, won the elections. Long before many had made commentary of the fact that there would not be any time that a Northerner will be given the opportunity to lead the New Patriotic Party. That particular preposition has been taken away. And today, I'm very confident that as I work for the New Patriotic Party, and I come from Zabzugu and from the northern region and being a Dagomba by tribe, I would have the opportunity one day to lead this country or to lead this party if I have the vision to do so. Any other tribe within our party would have the opportunity to lead this party against all the odds that many has prophesied for the New Patriotic Party. This was a victory for the New Patriotic Party. It was not a victory for Dr. Bawumia, because we have been aligned and been spoken bad about in terms of tribal politics from the NDC. And clearly this was demonstrated by the flag bearer of the NDC, that he lived to see that day. And hopefully, I want to thank God for giving him that long life to be able to live to see that Dr. Bawumia was given that particular opportunity. We are hoping to hear from him going forward whether he would change his mind with respect to what he has put forward. Salom, the MPP has made a very big history. A very big history because you know what happened in the 26th August elections for the special delegates. All manner of accusations were being raised. Matters has been referred to appropriate quarters of the party. We promised to make sure that elections coming on the 4th of November will be free and fair. The party put on all the mechanisms to make sure that the 277 centers that elections were taking place was free and fair. And this was demonstrated by the close contendant, or the second in line, that is Honorable Kennedy Ohini Ajapong. I think that this is the most peaceful, successful election that the MPP has organized over the period. Nothing at all happened in all the 277 centers. Nothing at all happened in the 331 polling booths that were being staged for elections to take place. And I think that we deserve much more commendation. And we have reiterated the point that the MPP remains the beacon of democracy in Africa.
Yeah, and that notwithstanding how the process, the processes lead, or the issues leading to the processes. So, for example, a major pillar of your party resigned. Another major pillar withdrew from the race, all citing the fact that the process has not been fair. And indeed, one of them said the process had been skewed to expect this outcome we have today, to produce Bawumia as candidate. And you think that is democratic enough for persons, you know, very key in your party to have these views on the process?
Salam, we are not oblivious of the facts. We responded to all these matters when it came up. When the matter was made that the elections was skewed, we responded to that. We referred to Article 13(9) of the party's constitution, where the delegates were predetermined. These delegates are predetermined. It is not a selection of a particular representation, but it is something that has been predetermined. And if you check the constitution of the party, the last time the constitution was amended was when I was a deputy director of communication under my former boss, in Cape Coast, and that was on 17th of December 2017. And I can remember how Bernard and Co, we had to arrange the platform for communication activities to go on. And as at that time, these delegates were determined in the constitution of our party. So it will be very surprising for anybody to say that the election has been skewed to a particular or a category of people or persons. And if you look at the larger electoral college, this was also determined by the constitution of the party. So obviously, there is a reason for anybody at all to proffer for losing or expecting to lose election. And we accommodate all these issues and responded to them in a manner that is deserving of a national party as MPP. So for me, I think that this is a democracy, and we can't expect to get 100%, but we have demonstrated enough courage and responsibility that behoves on us to be able to carry everybody along.
I see, great. Let me come to Inusa. Inusa, the election processes often are fraught with difficulties and challenges. What is important is the party comes out of it successfully. And from what we saw on Saturday, it appeared quite successful. We've not heard anything to the contrary, even though we know that election days could be very peaceful and successful, but the events afterwards could lead to problems. How is the NDC taking this? In Harunet's comments, he said they are yet to hear from the former president, as if the former president must comment on it. How is the NDC seeing this election of Bawumia? I say so because in the past, key actors of your party have sought to say that the MPP, given the nature of party it is, will never, allow Bawumia coming from the north to lead it because it is an Akan party. Now we've gone past that. How is the NDC viewing this, and what impact will the election of Bawumia have on your party, given that a major propaganda element or arsenal, like a Northerner leading the MPP, has been neutralized now?
Well, Salom, let me say good morning to you, my good friend, Bawumia Samoa. Since he left his post as a communication director and a member of the Butterfly Party,
no, he's now with the
movement. The Butterfly Movement. You are invited. Butterfly Movement. He has not been coming to Iburi. I used to see him a lot on the Iburi Mountains exercise. I think he's been taken up. He's busy. And Mohamed Haruna, fine gentleman. I mean, the first time I met him was in the aircraft, and we had a very nice discussion. I mean, very enjoyable discussion, and you keep it up. Humble people like you don't belong to the MPP, but well, that's where you have chosen to be. Now, Salom, you must understand that MPP has always known of this tag, and this tag was not fostered on the MPP. It was the nature of the party. The party did not create opportunities for people of northern descent, and so this time round, they made a conscious, deliberate effort to whip everybody into line and bypass those who had even served the party in capacities that had established their claim to lead the party. And so this was a conscious, deliberate effort by the Nana Akufo-Addo's government to ensure that his vice president takes up the mantle of leadership. I mean, there is no any other explanation to it than to say that this was Project Nana Akufo-Addo. And he himself said it after the election of Bawumia. He himself said it. I didn't put the words in his mouth. He said he had gotten Bawumia elected as flag bearer. Now it was for him to get him elected as president. He said it. And you could see clearly, again, that saying that MPP has been an anti-northern party was not with that basis. The person who gave life to what is now called the MPP tradition was SD Dumbo. SD Dumbo was then the minority leader and the head of the leader of the MPP, Northern People's Party. The Northern People's Party was founded not basically on ideological underpinnings, but because of the British colonial administration's policy towards the North, which deprived the northern part of the country of certain basic, essential, infrastructure. And so people of the north came together and said, look, yes, we want independence, but in our condition, our independence, Ghana's independence will not benefit us in the north. And so we want some guarantees. And that is why the British government set aside $30 million pounds sterling, especially for the development of the north. It was not an ideological party. Now, when the Ghana party, which was in parliament, which had only one representative, that is the Bawumia, when the Trans-Togoland party, and when they came together to form the United Party, the MPP, which had the largest, I think, 16 or so seats in parliament, was not given the leadership.
The MPP being the Northern
People's Party was not given the leadership. SD Dumbo was not made the leader.
No, but I thought he gave it up.
No, he didn't give it up. He didn't give it up. Bawumia, it was prevailed upon to give it to Bawumia.
He was prevailed upon.
Yes.
But Bawumia was only one.
Yes.
And the voter Togoland guys were quite a number.
The
MPP, the Northern People's Party. So he had a majority.
Yes.
So who will prevail upon him? If it's people, the Northern People's Party.
The alliance that the agreement that they came together to combine and collapse their parties to form the United Party. Now, in that meeting, Dumbo was prevailed upon to give up the position.
Against a membership of one. And that one became the leader.
And I'm coming. Have you ever heard of somebody called Alhaji Yakubu Tolona?
Yes, I've heard of Tolona.
You know that he was very instrumental. He was very instrumental in the MPP. He knew that he had expressed an interest in leading the MPP. You know that?
But a lot of people expressed it.
No. And actually put in a contest during the time of Victor also. You know that? He was never voted.
Yes, but he became the running mate.
Yes, he became the running mate. Yes, but I'm saying that leader. I'm not talking about leader. I mean, so
but it's a popular vote matter, is it not?
Well, I'm telling you, I think that we are developing a hypothesis that the MPP had never given anybody of the northern descent opportunity to lead their party. And you remember Aliu Mama. You remember Aliu Mama? Kufo, I mean, if for nothing at all, I have tremendous respect for Kufo. Tremendous respect for Kufo. Because you see, this was a person who knew exactly what he was about. When you look at the administration of Kufo in the 8 years, yes, there were serious issues that we as NDC had with Kufo. But clearly, as a president, Kufo knew what he was about. But when it came to choosing, and Kufo did very well, and up to now, and particularly in the 2016 elections, the campaign of the MPP was largely hinged on the performance of Kufo. It was largely hinged on the performance of Kufo. Now, and Kufo, the presidency is a team. It's one. So if Kufo did so well in between 2000 and 2008, and his vice president wanted to continue in office with his good works, what prevented the MPP from giving him the opportunity? After all, it is the team of Kufo, Team Kufo, that delivered what was used as campaign for the 2016 elections. But he was denied. I mean, there were a lot of derogatory things said about Aliu Mama that in death, one would not want to bring it up. So clearly, it is precisely because of that we have always held the view that MPP is intolerant, is not accommodating of people of northern descent. Well, if they have gone out of their way to work tirelessly and exclude people who have contributed to the fortunes of the party over the years in order to break this jinx that a northerner cannot lead the party, that is their cup of tea. But there is evidence, there is basis for our assertion that MPP doesn't create space. Now, so the election went on. I mean, first of all, we must know that Bawumia got 61 point something percent, something percent. Statistically, 40% against Bawumia is significant. If 40% of your party people think that you are otherwise not fit to lead them, it's statistically important and significant. And so Bawumia will have to work on the 40%.
But in 1992, 42% of the people of the MPP felt that Edubuahin was not fit enough to lead them, but he led them anyway. In Kufuor's instance, in 1996, 49% of the party thought he was not worthy to lead them. So when you look at the statistics, in terms of, in terms of first timers, and Nanado's record is even worse, and that wasn't even his first time. This is Bawumia's first time appearing on the national party's ballot paper, and he made 61. Edubuahin in 1992 made 58 against Kufuor, Jani Selby, and a few other people. In 1996, when Kufuor won, that wasn't his first time, because he had contested in 92. He won with 51%, which meant that 49% didn't want him, and that wasn't his first time. Akufo-Addo against Alan and the 15 others made 47. It had to take Alan Chemantin to leave the stage for him to win. But he still went ahead as leader of the party, had the control. So Bawumia's 61% is actually unprecedented, and it's actually a great job he has done.
I think that you are buttressing the point I'm making.
Really?
Yes.
How so? Because you're on the other end.
Let me tell you why. When Edubuahin got his 58%, Edubuahin did not win the elections.
Okay.
When Kufuor got his
51,
he didn't win the elections. He didn't. When Nana Akufo-Addo got the 47%,
he didn't win.
And Alan made the concession, he didn't win the election. So you're buttressing my point.
So to win the election, you need what, 80% or 90%?
You need an overwhelming support. So when Kufuor came back the second time to win the flag bearership, what percentage did he win?
I think he won big. That was when Nanado contested.
When Nanado came back the second time to win the primaries, what percentage did he win?
I think won close to 90%.
That's what. So you are buttressing my point.
So I thought it was in terms of the
control.
I thought it was in terms of the control of the party.
You are actually buttressing my point. Only that you didn't see it that way. You didn't see it that way. So I'm saying that it is statistically important for you to know that to be able to lead a party, a group of people who share a common belief in an ideology, you need an overwhelming support of that group for everybody, because it's a voluntary association. That's what you must understand. Two, you have a process that in its first round resulted in a major player of your party withdrawing from the contest. Major player of the party. And my brother Haruna says, well, our party is known for its democratic credentials. I mean, what party and how democratic is your credentials if your party members, superdelegates, vote in elections and are required to show the ballot, how they voted, to the next person standing behind them? How democratic is that process? But
were they required to do so?
They were required to do so.
They didn't do it.
And so when one refused or challenged, he was given a dirty slap.
the gentleman at Northeast.
Yes.
But that wasn't a
business. No, when he challenged. So if it is not required to do so, your party, the party itself, the party itself, the party itself.
It wasn't a voter. It was just a coordinator.
What I'm saying is that the party itself.
What do you mean? He was not a voter, so he was not to be beaten.
No, he wasn't to be beaten.
I'm just correcting you.
Okay. So he wasn't a delegate.
He was beaten for protecting the
but he could have fought against it.
I didn't say he was voted.
On behalf of the people.
I didn't say he voted.
Yes.
You said because he didn't show his
No.
So I just want to correct that.
I didn't say he voted. Somebody was showing,
and he protested as an agent.
Okay.
And then his protest was not with that basis. The party guidelines had indicated and stipulated in black and white that voting was going to be secret, and that if anybody voted and showed his ballot, that ballot should be nullified. He was only drawing attention to the sanctity of the rules.
And he was beaten.
He dislocated his eye. And you say he's democratic.
But that matter is before the disciplinary committee.
You say he's democratic. This is a party. This is a party that when the voting was taking place at the party headquarters, everywhere everybody will expect that at least there will be a level of decency. It is reported that the chief of staff took office and was dispensing money.
No, but we can't prove that.
Well, I didn't say you should prove that.
You said it was reported.
I said it's supported.
Yes,
I didn't say you should. You didn't report it.
Yes, we didn't report it.
You didn't report it. I said it was reported.
Yes, and I'm happy. We didn't have any.
I'm also happy that you had the report.
Yeah, we didn't have any proof of that.
I'm happy that you had the report.
Okay.
It was reported.
He's a lawyer.
He took this thing.
He chooses his
now,
words very carefully.
You can throw it around. I'm also saying that we had no proof. Yeah, just so.
I didn't demand of any proof.
Yes, so I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't need to hassle on this matter.
Okay.
You didn't report it. Citi FM did not report it.
Okay.
Then you find a showdown. Well, we are being told openly that to secure the election of Bawumia in the first round and in the second round, money played a significant influence. And you think that your party is democratic. You know what money does in politics? It distorts
the will of the people.
That's what money does. So wherever money plays an influence in ensuring that a person emerges as leader, you cannot say that process is democratic. You cannot. How can you use money to procure elections and turn around and say that we are the most democratic? What is the level playing field that you have created? What about people like that my good friend, Adainimo, who left parliament so many years ago, who cannot raise that amount of money?
He's an engineer.
Yes, engineer on the MPP. Tell me which project he has been given.
I don't know, but it's a man.
Well, but does it have to be a party project or government project?
Government project.
Private projects.
Yes, so he's an engineer.
Yes.
But I know that I met him before, and I don't think that he has that amount of money, resources to be able.
No, but part of his job is to raise.
He believed
funding
in the democratic process. That the process will be fair.
And he was disappointed.
He was disappointed.
He had no basis for believing in it.
He had no basis at all. Especially after the second round, he should have advised. First round, he should have advised himself in view of the influence of money in determining the 5 people who were otherwise qualified to go for the general elections. So you cannot come here and claim that your party. Probably you are talking about another party, but not your party. The party itself said, key contenders of the election said they gave out 400 cities and 300 cities to delegates to vote. I'm told that your delegates list was 204,414 or 441. I cannot put, but it is 214 over 214. Just multiply.
203,000.
No, 203,000.
303,400 and what?
Can I mention the exact?
But when you multiply that by 300, you get 60 million.
And when you multiply that by 400, you get 80 million.
Yeah.
That's the amount of money.
On the day of the election.
Assuming that no one gave above the floor level, 300, 400.
And that is the day of the election.
On the day of the election. And you say that your elections was fair, free and fair.
But the people had to be given transportation. Is that not the case? If they've traveled to come and vote.
I have always said that when I hear people talk about transportation, then I cringe. It's a party. My brother Haruna is an executive of the party. No parliamentary candidate or presidential candidate has a responsibility to give transportation to anybody. It's
but
the
the party didn't give 50 cities each, right?
No, it's the party. You have money to give to for transportation. It's a party, and all the officers or persons coming to vote, the delegates, are officials of the party. So if they are coming to vote, the party has got responsibility, not the candidates, to transport them to the voting center, see if they cannot transport themselves. So who says that we are giving transportation? What is transportation in that respect? Where do you arrogate yourself the duty to provide transportation? It's the party. It's the party. And so, well, I'm saying that on the floor level, 881 million Ghana cedis on that day alone We don't talk about a Navara pickup. So when I was coming, I saw my brother driving a Navara pickup. I don't think that he was given one.
No, that's
a party official, so the party gave it.
It's a party car.
It's a party car.
Kennedy donated it to the party during the Kumo by-elections.
And then they gave you one.
No, but he's using on behalf of the party.
Okay.
He brought it to
I know that. No, I know you're a decent man. You will not.
I don't know. He's a propagandist. So be careful.
No, you're playing.
You're a decent man.
No, man.
He's a propagandist. So be careful.
I'm just talking to the facts as they have come to me. And now I'm saying that, well,
but let me just take you on this one because you need to conclude. You talked about how Ali Mahama was created. Incidentally, but there's someone sitting here today who is on the other side, was a key member of the Ali Mahama campaign.
Yes.
In that election, you said a lot of nice things about Kufuor.
Yes.
But Kufuor did not appear like he was supporting Ali Mahama to make him the establishment candidate we claim Bawumia was.
No, we know Bawumia is. No, we claim.
Okay, so Bawumia was in this election, right? All the nice things you said about Kufuor never did that. In the case of the Tolena tally, he was also not projected as such. So if anything at all, we need to be praising Nana Addo for giving the support we say he gave Bawumia for Bawumia to get here by way of neutralizing that north-south divide.
Exactly. So we won't praise him, but we need to understand him. We need to understand him in two contexts. Only two. One, that the jinx, he thought he would break the jinx, but that is a secondary matter. As a political watcher and as an opposition party member, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has so mismanaged the economy of this country, has put us too much into the doldrums, that key persons, responsible and useful citizens of this country, like Professor Adai, like Dr. Ishmael Yamson, like Nyahu Tamakulu, like their own Kennedy, are talking about the unprecedented levels of corruption and misgovernance. Civil society organizations have bemoaned the conflict of interest that this party, this government has engaged in, especially the Minister of Finance. So, Nana Akufo-Addo, in a year and a month's time, will be leaving the scene. He needs somebody to protect him. The only reason.
Not because he believed.
Not because he believes in Bawumia. Not because he. The only reason why Nana Akufo-Addo went out of his way to protect, to support Bawumia is not because of the competence of Bawumia.
But he's always believed in the competence of Bawumia. He's stuck with him from 2008, 2012, 2016.
No. It was not about
he's always said that
it is not about the competence of Bawumia.
And he was.
Bawumia had just come from Canada. He was working as a deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. What did he do at the time that Bawumia was being chosen as running mate to Akufo-Addo? That was outstanding to such an extent that Nana Akufo-Addo would believe that Bawumia is competent.
No, but he
chose him because he wanted to break into the north. He chose him because he wanted to send a signal that he was going to use professionals. That Bawumia was otherwise a professional, and so you are not looking at only a political person. You are looking at a professional person. So it added to his political credibility.
Which all politicians do.
I thought you were talking about competence of Bawumia and otherwise, and now I was trying to explain to you.
But the competence
but you are not trying to justify why politicians do that. Well, I agree with you. Politicians will do that because we are all politicians. So if I'm going to run for elections at the highest level, I will need to convince Ghanaians that even though I'm a politician, I appreciate the serious issues confronting this country, and I will need a professional, to come into, who has many economists elsewhere, to be able to support me and at least send a signal that it will not be business as usual. That was the reason, not because of his competence. Bawumia had not occupied he had never even contested an elected position in this country. He had never. He was otherwise unknown in this country. Okay, and so how can you talk about competence when that person at the time he was being nominated as random mate, he didn't even have an MPP party card. He didn't even have an MPP party card. That you think that he was so competent that and believed in the ideology of the party that Nana Akufo-Addo felt compelled to. No. Nana Akufo-Addo was looking at the next election. Was looking at how to get elected as president. And now that, so to whom much is given,
much is required.
Good. So having plucked him from obscurity and made him random mate, and then he's exiting, and in view of the mess that has been created in this country, Nana Akufo-Addo thinks that he needs somebody to protect him.
Very well.
And that's why he's thinking that he will do everything, including in his power, to get him elected, so that he can protect him.
I see.
But you see, he missed the point. Doing everything in your power requires that as we speak, you do everything in your power to remove the people of Ghana from the hardship and poverty.
Into prosperity.
Into prosperity.
That's fine. Honorable Bawumia Samoa,
yes.
It's interesting to introduce you as the senior advisor to Alan on the Movement for Change platform. And you've seen it all. You've been at the Aliu camp, Alan camp, and still with Alan. Alan left the party to form his own movement because he felt the processes leading to last Saturday's election were not fair, and so he left. Now that process has produced an outcome that many have said was fair and transparent, including Kennedy Japan himself, who promised a showdown. In his concession speech, he said that the process was fair and the process was transparent, and that was all he was calling for. And so he did not have a problem. That I don't know where that places the concerns of your team. But what's your general view on how the MPP conducted itself on Friday and eventually elected the person you knew would be elected because he's been popular, because you thought he had support, etc. Eventually that person has been elected. What's the general view of yourself and your side being the Movement for Change on this election?
Thank you for having me.
Let me state that in the next 5 minutes I'll take a break, so you will come back. But that's fine.
Okay. Then let me do my congratulations within 5 minutes, because I want to congratulate you on your studio. I haven't been here.
Oh, you've not been here?
In the new house.
Oh, really?
Congratulations.
Thank you. You've not been here?
Yes.
Whoa, I
haven't been to this house.
I see.
Before.
That's quite a while. Great. We thank you.
There is development.
We thank you.
Yes, the media is growing. And congratulations to my brother Haruna. He is growing very rapidly, maturing very rapidly as a Deputy General Secretary. As for my NDC brother, I won't congratulate him. He's at his mischievous best this morning, flying in different circles, hovering and swooping. Alaji, I've had some very interesting times with him in Parliament.
I'm hearing some Singaporean experience.
He's a gentleman. He is a gentleman. A very fantastic guy. And then congratulations to Alaji.
I didn't say hi to Franklin.
Bawumia. Oh, Franklin is online.
Yes, he's on.
Yeah, Franklin is my buddy. He doesn't look for me. He's going to be a member of the Movement for Change. So tell him, Franklin, I've already co-opted you. So get ready. Now, let me quickly dispel this notion that is gaining traction. And yet, the party leadership doesn't seem to be able to respond to it. The leader of the party. The president is not the leader of the New Patriotic Party.
Really?
No, he's not.
What we know is that if he's elected, he becomes a leader.
No,
and if he becomes president,
it is not like that. That is the NDC.
Oh,
in the MPP, the chairman of the party remains leader of the party.
Even in government?
In government, in opposition, every time the chairman of the party is the leader of the party. The president is the president.
I see.
So I'm surprised the party is watching whilst the media is continuing and establishing, because it was a major point you started with.
Yes.
The leader and what happens, one leader transferring to the other. What he transferred on that day is the flag bearership, not the leadership of the party.
So when they go for a meeting,
the president sits aside. It's the chairman who chairs.
And in this case, the flag bearer will sit aside?
Yes. At best, you may sit in a position of honor, but you don't chair the meeting. Wow. It is the chairman of the party who chairs all meetings. So there is nothing, and it's a tussle that has been going on in the meeting as in that party for as long as I remember. That the presidency feels that they are entitled to be leader of the party, and that the party has resisted that. That on their own, they take the party into government, and they remain a party, even whilst in government. So there's nothing like a leader of the party. My brother, please correct it. Issue a statement. You are in charge, Deputy General Secretary.
So you are the boss. JFK is the boss.
Now, having said that, and having congratulated them, I think you yourself have confirmed this morning the choicelessness that went on in that election. There was no genuine choice. Because you said Nana Addo helped, facilitated, and asked that Alhaji be proud of the fact that Nana Addo helped Bawumia to be the candidate, to win the election, because he had to ensure that a northern candidate replaced him.
But that was a question.
What does that mean? It simply means that it confirms that that election, right from the beginning, was skewed in favor of Alhaji.
In that skewed fashion, with that skewed comment, let's hold it on there. Let me take the break, I promise. Very well. And then so I take a break. When I come back, we'll continue on the skewed direction that Bawumia Samoa is decided to take us. And this is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll be right back to continue. Don't go away. All right, so welcome back to the big issue. My name is Salam Adunu. My guest this morning, the Honorable Yunus Afuseni, former Minister of Many Portfolios, former MP, Tamale Central of the NDC, Haruna Mohammed, also known as Prof, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, Bawumia Samoa, Senior Advisor to Alan Tremantin in the Movement for Change, Franklin Kujo, President in Africa. Before we took the break, Bawumia Samoa was on the floor and he was buttressing his point, the earlier point his boss made, that the election was skewed, or the processes were skewed to achieve a certain outcome, that is Bawumia. Bawumia, you may continue.
Yes, so the import of skewing the election is that there wasn't a genuine choice. Delegates were not given space, room to select a person of their choice. And it knocks on. When it knocks on, it means that the person that the party has brought may not necessarily reflect the choice of the majority of voters in Ghana. Because what was the appeal to? The appeal was on three legs within the party. Three legs. One, the NDC says we are an Akan party, so vote for somebody who is not Akan to break the NDC perception of us. Is this what 17 million voters are looking for? Two, Bawumia is the one the NDC fears. He was saying it himself proudly. I'm the one the NDC fears, so vote for me. This is the platform he was driving within to get selected as a flag bearer.
But the objective was to win power.
Yes, but the point is that I'm developing it slowly. Okay. Because there were three things. The third one was that if he comes in, then you rope in the religious community, the Muslim community, and the Zongo community, which in the perception of the public is not friendly to the MPP. So the benefits of a Bawumia election, apart from the selfishness that Alhaji was talking about the president wanting him to protect him or otherwise, which he says, I can't comment on that. The benefit of the three things they were telling the delegates, how do those things translate into benefits for the 17 million voters of Ghana? That the NDC says that MPP hasn't brought a Northerner before, so give it to me to prove the NDC wrong. That I am the one the NDC fears. That I'll bring Muslims and Zongo communities. So you are saying, yes, you want power. Will these decisions bring you power amongst the voters?
But you know, running the primaries and the message you give to delegates is very different from the message you give in a national election.
Exactly.
So this message...
That is where I'm coming to. That is why I am convinced Alan will win this election. That is why I am convinced Alan will win this election.
Really?
Yes, because voters have evolved faster than MPP and DC. The general sum of voters, what they are looking for, what they need, is not the messaging that is coming out of the two parties.
No, but there's a primary. There's a primary.
Primary is a reflection.
No, but the issues that drive the primaries are very different from the issues that will drive the national election. You don't go into primaries running it on the issues that you hope to run the national election. So, for example, Bawumia was talking about one constituency, one welfare office. You don't go and say that to the national, the country in a national election, because I don't need a welfare office for the MPP. It doesn't concern me. I want to look at some other issues. So the issue is when it comes to the national, the message evolves and they come up with the real issues that the larger majority of people are looking at. This was just a small election.
Okay. So let me ask you. It's a small election. Religion, is it confined to the party?
No, it's not. But if they feel it's an issue, they have to.
So
they have to address
is it a national issue to have a Muslim Northerner on the ticket of the MPP?
No, but if the NDC, for example, is waiting to say that I told you Bawumia will be used and dumped,
it's a national issue.
So that should be addressed at the party level,
exactly.
So that NDC doesn't have that to fight the MPP.
Yes.
So now NDC cannot use that.
So indirectly, you are confirming that the issues within the primary border on national issues.
Not necessarily.
But in this case, it was.
Yes, some would, but not all of them. Yes.
So the three issues I've isolated are all to do with the national election.
Bawumia is the one NDC fears and all of that. Well,
Bawumia himself went around saying that I am the one the NDC fears. The NDC are not primary voters. They are the national opponents.
The delegates need someone who can beat Mahama.
So it's a national issue.
It's a party issue.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's a party
I am
issue.
compelled to concede it because you are my boss on the set. But all the three things are designed to demonstrate that I am the best candidate you take to the national. Because the internal election doesn't end there. So the reason you are appealing, it's an electoral college. That electoral college is supposed to select the best and offer choice to the people of Ghana. What they select is what they are going to present to the people. So you don't select on minority concerns, issues within the party, and bring it up in a majority situation within the voter population at large. Am I making it clear? So there must be some relevance in selecting a candidate to take to national elections. So if you choose a candidate on sectarian basis within the party, then the likelihood is that you are giving the national people very little choice. This is what I'm saying. You are giving the people very little choice. So when you come out and you go to the people, of course, you are going to change your message. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? You understand? So I'm saying that the process of using delegates in both parties is now getting to the point where voters generally are not being given enough choice. And because of that, voters are evolving beyond those choices. That's why there's a clamor for a third force. Because voters cannot depend anymore on delegates of either of the parties, MPP and DC, to give them who they prefer. You understand? They are resorting to, like you are saying, matters within the party. Selfishly concentrating on themselves, their needs, and afterwards assuming that the rest of Ghana will empathize with them.
But this has always been known.
But that's the point. Now the voters have evolved beyond that.
But if Alan hadn't faced these difficulties, that he said the thing was skewed to favor one person, he wouldn't have been making this point. He would have still benefited from that so-called sectarian appeal to now blow himself up on the national
stage. But what was
stage.
Alan's message? Alan's message was national from the beginning. GTP. He had a plan for the country. He promised more jobs. He promised growth. GTP is not sectarian.
But he also talked about how he was going to deal or address party problems.
Of course, as part of the platform, that's allowable. That I am going to enable the party to function more effectively in the commercial marketplace. Again, it's a national issue because party funding is big. You were just talking about party funding, 300, 400, transport. It's all about party funding. How do you make a political organization, a voluntary organization of like-minded individuals, effective and functional? It needs resources. How do you generate those resources? Should you continue to generate them from within amongst people who have access to state wealth in opaque circumstances? Is that enough? Is that sufficient? Does it drive behavior that is against the rest of the country in terms of ethics? So you need a leader who has a vision to say that I am aware that the parties need sustenance, and this is the way I am going to ensure that they are better sustained. Transparently, you address the problem and you deal with the problem. Alan is a man of solutions. He addresses the problem and he gives you solutions. And that is what he was about all along. None of his messages were hidden. All his messages were national and remain so. You see, the way the Ghanaian voter is evolving, if you're not focused, you lose sight of it, particularly if you are steeped in MPP and DC, and you assume nonchalantly that nothing will change. It is changing faster than we think. Look, when Rawlings was there, people had a take it or leave it situation because we had never had a military person. We had already had 4 coups. We had never had a military person directly change their uniform into a political suit. Never. It was always a situation where they left and we sorted it out. And in 1992, we assumed it would be the same. The shocker was when the process had already started and Rawlings put off his khaki and put on political suit. Then Ghanaians panicked because a decorated donkey is still a donkey. So the first 2 terms of Rawlings, we really were in a democracy without, the freedom associated with democracy. You could take Rawlings or leave it. So 2 terms he enjoyed and left. It was Kufuor and Mills's era that we literally had a liberation in terms of party. Then people were proud to show their party colors. And so there was a focus on the party. And the saying was that it doesn't matter who you bring. Once they are wearing my party color, I'll vote for them. You remember that? I like you used to say, they used to say that if you put a muffler on a goat, once the muffler is mine, I'll vote for the goat. That's the NDC
MBB says it. MBB says it's in Ashanti. MBB says it's in Volta.
That's in Tamale.
But it's both sides. MBB also says it in Ashanti.
Specifically his constituency.
Both parties say it in their strong rooms.
And somebody said that he will give t-shirts. T-shirts. Vote.
But see, by
in the Bali they said 2012, that was what the NDC says.
That was the height of party popularity when people were proud to show off their party. But by 2012, 2013, when we went for the epochal presidential petition, then people realized that it was about a lot of things that human beings could influence. Individually, so on. So Ghanaians began to look at the conduct because it was clear that you had to win an election in order to get somebody to come in and exercise power for your benefit. So win it heavily at the polling station. So then people organized themselves. 2016, John Mahama assumed that it was a done deal. The party was in charge. He was going for a second term. He came and developed his famous, I don't know whether it's a bow and arrow. He wasn't even bothering to campaign.
No, he was campaigning. It was part of it.
He was just spreading largesse and happily thinking that he had won because his party was in power and the party was due 2 terms. He was thrown out by a resounding margin because people had now begun voting for personalities who they thought could use executive power to take care of them. And that came into being. By 2020, that feeling has been reinforced. You are aware of the terminology skirt and blouse. It is gaining popularity. Now, voters are able to go to the poll, put Selom in one election, and the same voter puts Haruna in the other election. There are two separate elections, parliamentary and presidential. You know, how does skirt and blouse happen? Because voters are beginning to think that the personality in whom you vest trust matters beyond the party. This is the era of internalized benefits. The voter is moving faster than us.
That's why
so,
we need a leader, not a party.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was waiting for you to say that.
That is where
I was
we are
just waiting
headed
for
now.
you to say that.
So you have a situation. Don't cut me off.
No, I'm just about cutting you.
So we have.
His time is up.
Yes, I'm just about cutting you. Because Franklin is on the sideline.
So we have a situation where in 2020, Central Region, 10 seats, MDC MPs win, and Nanado wins. In fact, it's those 10 seats that confused your mama into thinking he had won.
No.
The more seats, shut up. The more seats you win. I don't have time. I don't have time. They're going to cut me.
Don't make statements because of
I'm busy. Leave it there. So you have a situation now where voters are looking for personalities of integrity, of outstanding record, who can use executive power in the interest of the voter, irrespective of the party. They've had enough of party-made leadership, leaders who are built up on the basis of the party, leaders who are presented by the party, and they assume that because the party is bringing you, you have won. No, there is a large chunk of voters who are looking for a genuine leader as a person. And that is the third force clamor. And that is what is bringing Alan Shematin to power. Because if you put Shematin's face on the ballot paper and you have John Mahama, who can't do anything beyond what we've seen him do before. He can't do anything beyond that. And you have Dr. Bawumia, Alhaji, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who has been on a ticket with Nana and is totally part of the current situation. And you have APC, Ayariga, who is likely to be his presidential candidate. You have Kofi Palu. You have all the others that the other parties are likely to bring out. Alan will stand out. Alan will be a standout.
Notwithstanding the fact that he's also been part of the MPP era, the MPP
because we
system
will
for a long time.
demonstrate that his performance
so he's part of the problem we have today.
Is what will solve our biggest problem.
Very well.
Debt.
Very well.
You want me to land on that?
Yeah, well, I'll come back to you. Let me
you don't want me to deal with debt?
No, wait, debt.
Okay,
no, I'll come to debt. I'll come to debt. Franklin, welcome to the program. We miss you. But yes, whilst you are away, I don't know when you came back, the MPP elected a flag bearer, Bawumia, a person that the civil society groups and a lot of you guys in civil society had liked in 2016 and prior to that. He's now the man we all have to deal with, and we all have to focus on, put the microscope on him and see really what on his own he's made up of. Now, one of the key points is that his election breaks a certain jinx, the fact that a minority group can lead the MPP. How significant is this from the thinking of civil society, that now you don't have persons coming from the mainstream, Ashanti, Eastern, etc., but you have people coming from the minority group, maybe the North, it could have been Volta, it could have been anywhere, now leading the MPP. How significant is that? No, you want to unmute yourself, Franklin. No, we still cannot hear you. I don't know. I'm sure that there are some technical issues. Okay, so can you unmute yourself again, Franklin?
All right.
Very well. I think we can hear you now. Yes.
Is this better?
Yes. We can hear you now. Thank you.
All right. Well, I said I was greeting everybody in the studio, my good friends, and good to see you, Salam. Hurrying to in interesting times. I think that the election of Mahmoud Bawumia obviously is history to be told. But I think the question you asked, if you are predicating it on the question of he being a minority and the fact that there's a not, and so maybe he's broken the chains. However, that may be strategic electorally, I'm sure that Ghanaians are thinking beyond the issue of just a sectarian representation, and in this case, the candidature of Bawumia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
All right. So it looks to me that these are politics of yesteryears, even though I admit that clearly having been nominated and presented and elected as a flag bearer of the NPP, that the people of the northern extraction will be happy. Well, it is natural that they should be. But I think that if the NPP relies on that and decides that maybe that becomes an electoral advantage and forget about the larger issues of the economy or governance, they may be in for a shocker. I think it is important that we do not necessarily dwell on sectarian, that's what I call sectarian politics. I can admit that these things play a role globally as well. I mean, even in the States, people talk about blue states and red states and what have you. But I think it is important that we move away from this narrative because already it's driving a certain trend which I'm not necessarily in favor of. I mean, there are these religious undertones and sectarian undertones which are not good for the country. I think that even Bawumia, I'm not sure Bawumia himself is so much interested or vested in the issue of his northern extraction, rather than trying to present himself as the candidate who may be undoing the challenges of the economy, in fact, the rather difficulties of the economy that he's been part of. I think he's maybe rather focused on doing that larger mandate, as in undertaking that larger role of trying to change the economy from the ones that he himself has been part of, to the likeness or to the happiness of Ghanaians, so that everybody could flourish. How he's going to do that is what we need to interrogate and get on with. I suspect that will be the same for other party candidates like Mahama and my good friends, candidate Alan, right? So these are important matters that ought to be discussed. I'm not too sure we should be allowing the narrative, we should be driving that particular narrative even within the media circles, because frankly, it's just like poverty. If we try to compartmentalize poverty, we may be doing ourselves harm because people could be poor. What determines poverty are actually the issues of lack and want. So I'm not too sure we want to compartmentalize sectarian politics and then present that as a panacea for economic development. I think if we did that, we'll be doing ourselves in. As we speak right now, there are close to 1 million people that have been pushed into poverty, hardcore poverty. And I think that those matters that are crucial to every political actor. And indeed, I suspect Bawumia himself. So I would be really plead with the media that whenever we have opportunity to discuss this, have these conversations, we move away from sectarian politics, because those things don't define our going to the IMF. Those things don't define our coming out of the doldrums of the debt iceberg that we have right now. And those things will not define for the next 4 or 5 years how we unshackle ourselves from these rather, burdensome economic system that we have partly imposed on ourselves. So sorry, but I'm not taking on this subject of, it may play a role, I understand. I mean, people still play that type of politics. But I think that those people who may think that, well, simply because the candidate comes from my area, then I should align with the candidate, frankly speaking, quite stupid, if that's the way they're going to think really. But I think the most important thing will be the competence of the person, the ability of the person to change my narrative. And maybe we should talk about the North really. There's been a legion of economic development actors, not NGOs and even government agents that have decided or that actually promised to turn the northern area into basically, nirvana. But it's never happened, right? I'm sure my good friend Inusa Husseini would speak to that as well. There have been many projects that have been heralded for the north, all kinds of projects, right? National. And I can tell you that pound for pound, there have been more NGOs in the northern part of Ghana than anywhere else in the country. But as we speak, if you are counting some of the hardcore poverty areas, you find them in the northern extraction. Forget about the political decision to divide the whole north into northeast, northwest, north south, north savannah. Those things don't really matter. The fact of the matter is that whole northern region should have been really one of the, should I say, probably be feeding the whole country and the whole of West Africa by now. But what do we see? Compartmentalized politics, which I call basically very myopic political programs and projects that never really deliver anything, really. So I think that people in the North should be interested in what those promises under Mahama, yes, again under Mahama, and even under Bawumia had delivered for them, pound for pound. Have their lives been better off? Would their lives be better off in the next 3, 4, 5 years of a Bawumia presidency, of a John Mahama presidency? These are the things that I suspect my northern brothers, my friends. Please take these messages to your people. Forget about this extraction, where you come from. But those things don't define any serious country as you speak.
But frankly, it may not define the country, but it's not reality. The identity or identification politics. I mean, it's important. For example, in this our system, and I'll come to you on the duopoly, people think that the NDC and MPP are like twins. I mean, there's nothing different apart from the personalities that lead them. So if on the one hand is the NDC that I may think is the same as the MPP, or the other side is the MPP that I may think is the same as the NDC, and somebody is my kinsman, and if for nothing at all, the situation remains the same, I go with the pride that I have somebody from my side also going to the office of the president. And if for nothing at all, he may look at my side quite favorably. You know, that is some kind of consideration for identity politics. And that is the reason why I think his election becomes important. And also, it deprives the other side of a major propaganda tool about the party being an account party. Now, that tool cannot really be used because it's been dealt a death blow. That is, and it's a game of numbers. Irrespective of the competence of the person and all of that, everybody votes. The big man has one vote as the least man on the ladder, and it's the same vote. So it's a game of numbers.
Well, I'm making an advocacy argument, really, in spite of the examples you draw. And I understand what you mean. Are we suggesting that as Nanado being an Achim has made Achim much more nicer, brighter than every part of the country? Is that what we are trying to suggest? Are we suggesting that when John Mahama was president, he made his where he comes from, or the whole of northern region, much brighter, better than we have it today? And are we suggesting that when Bawumia was vice president, he took so many projects to the north? His IPEP project was awash with so many toilets and so many important infrastructure in the north than any part of the country. Is that the type of narrative we want to present? That assuming the president becomes, Bawumia becomes president, then the northerners will be so happy that apart from identifying as a northerner, then their problems will end. And how those problems will end should not be defined by the economic policies or the developmental policies. So for me, I'm making an advocacy argument rather than what you may call reality is what I'm saying. It drives underdevelopment, drives myopia, drives uncivilized culture in politics. And I think that's what we want to move away from. And I'm looking to see how many of these promises would have to be. You know, we talked about quantification of promise. Maybe we should now move on to add another element of the promises being able to be fulfilled simply because of the person's origin. That's a race to the bottom, really. So I'm only urging an upliftment of the conversation. Yes, people from the northern extraction will be happy today. Maybe they may even be divided. I saw a headline, I think it was the Ghanaian Times, that quite, unintellectually suggested a battle for the north. And I felt very insulted because I said, so what do the rest of the country, what is expected of the rest of the country? That the only northerners will decide how the country gets developed for the next foreseeable future. I don't think that's what northerners actually were thinking or even want. And I'll be remiss if that is what they want. I doubt that, really. So let's not dwell on some of these narratives. Very well. Quite frankly, in those parts of the world that these narratives are even used, it doesn't necessarily make a major dent. You think, so let's move away.
I get that. Very well. Let's look at the issue of the duopoly. Now we have movement for change in the mix. We've not tested them, but when you listen to what and how Bawumia Samoa speaks, you think Alan is at the presidency already. But you know what can they do the NDC MPP, a lot of people appear to have had enough of them. Is Alan Kyerematen the guy to break that duopoly? Does he have what it takes? Is his message on the ground reverberating with the sentiments that of the people? Is he the guy to do that? Is he sending the right message? Is he striking the right chord?
Let's for once, let's not forget the fact that Alan Kyerematen is still a force within the Ghanaian body politic, and together with his men and women, I'm sure he'd appeal to quite a significant amount of people. I put him clearly at probably a 1% or 1.5 percentage points right now. If he's able to move the needle a little bit to 2%, which is an uphill task, he's going to flip the election, really. And so let's not discount that at all. Having said that, though, I think Alan will still have to come to the table with the things that he's likely to do quite well. I've heard his GDP policy, and quite frankly, I must be truthful. There's nothing particularly new, except, of course, I would think that Alan may want to do this with pragmatism, honesty, and meritocracy as part of his watchwords. Because quite frankly, most of the things that the politicians are going to tell us in this election are not going to be new anyway. I think the real test for me will be the Singaporean example of what a true leader really is. Does he believe in meritocracy? Does he believe in honesty in public office? Does he believe in pragmatism? Pragmatism doesn't include where you come from. You know, he doesn't include that at all. Pragmatism only means that how are you able to change course immediately? How do you actually build a vision for a country that even when there are headwinds, you can actually navigate? And do not come and tell people that, well, the problems that moved away all the way from wherever they originated come and affect only the country. You know, those are the permutations, his body language, the things he says. We need to watch all of those. He stands tall, I must admit. But you see, again, these are not the things people will eat. People would be interested in how he's able to, again, build on this election. Education. He talks about the industrialization, which is a very interesting phenomenon for me. And I think we've not broken this industrialization since the 60s. Now, forget about the import substitution nonsense, really. Those things don't really work. They've never really worked, simply because of, again, the lack of meritocracy and pragmatism in our politics, in fact, honesty in our public office. So for me, I like to see this industrialization drive explained a bit more. And I think next Tuesday we have a chance to discuss all of this when we meet with him at Movenpick. I'm talking about
so Alan is meeting you guys, civil society organizations, next Tuesday.
Yes.
I see. Please. All right, that'll be nice. Thanks, Franklin. Haruna, I know you have things to respond to quickly.
I thought I asked you to ask Franklin to
join.
A member
so Franklin, so that's an open invitation to you. But I think you have an opportunity to do that better when he meets you on Tuesday. All right, Haruna, I think you have a few things to respond to, but I want you to quickly do that, and then we go in. So Franklin makes a good point. I mean, all the panelists about the northern thing not being too necessary, even though it may be an issue on the ground. What matters is what the person brings to the table, how the person hopes to transform the economy, the bread and butter issues, changing the living standards or improving the living conditions of people. Bawumia has been the guy projected to be the one to hold the magic one to do all of that, the economy. We've not seen a lot of that. You guys blame that on global factors. We'll deal with that. So address those issues for me that you want to quickly respond to, and then we'll delve into what Bawumia really brings to the table in terms of how he hopes to redeem this economy.
Okay, thank you very much, Salom. First and foremost, I want to state that the election of Dr. Bawumia was not a project of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I want to state clearly that the MPP never sponsored a candidate in the election as a party. We supervised an election of the presidential candidature. And there were some statistics about the number of percentage that you have to get before you would become president. And my senior brother did mention about the 61% of Dr. Bawumia. In fact, if mathematically, if you want to do with ranges, you would realize that 61 to 65 or 60 or 50, if you are putting in ranges, you see that 65 and 60 all are in one range. And when President Kufuor was going to win 2000 elections, he got 64.60%. And that still falls within the range of which President, His Excellency, Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia got. And I think that this is a fact that we would have to look out for. And this does not debar him from winning the elections. He has an overwhelming, just as Kufuor had in his second bid in 1998.
Second bid,
yes,
second bid
yes,
for the party
third
flag
bid, yes,
bearership.
yes, flag bearership. That's where he got. And let me also state here, clear, when it comes to contest, he's talk about Dombo had to be prevailed upon. And I think that he was a man on himself. He decided, holding the majority of the seats, decided on his own. And I think that the likes of Tolena and co were all on the table. And this was a decision that was made to support a united party. And that is how this particular percentage had gone. I felt very aback when he talked about Aliu Mahama was denied. I think that maybe he's forgotten that he's talking about the MPP. It's a liberal conservative party. They are a socialist party. We believe in competition. They believe in selection. So if it was the NDC, they would have selected him, just as they did to John Mahama at the demise of Professor Mills. We go in for competition. So there was no need to say that Aliu was denied. Aliu was not elected.
But of course, we know that. But
yes.
if the circumstances leading to that election are such that the person cannot express himself, doesn't have the level playing field is not there, that is an issue, isn't it?
That is an issue that we have to look at separately. If we are given that platform to look at, but there was competition. Aliu was given a platform, and sorry, he couldn't make it. I was on the side of Aliu at that particular point in time, but he could not get it. And this is a democracy, and it is very clear that the MPP has always demonstrated that. I've heard about that the Saturday elections was a choiceless election. It is not true. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was the choice of the people. Overwhelming majority of 61.47% chose Dr. Bawumia. We all know the vision of Dr. Bawumia, and my former boss here had espoused that on several platforms. He has led us, and we have spoken a lot about the credentials of Dr. Bawumia. We all know his competence level. We all know that he's somebody that is very innovative. We know that he's an intelligent person.
But not against the candidate.
That is why we say both Alan Termantin and Dr. Bawumia were not to insist in Akufo-Addo's government. They were to assist in Akufo-Addo's government. So if you are to match them by the instance of their assistance, you would miss that point. And that is where I like where Franklin said that the people of the North should be interested in the governance of Dr. Bawumia to the impact of the people of the North, and the governance of Mahama to the people of the North. That is what we should be interested in. And I think that in the campaign, I have not heard Dr. Bawumia publicly say, vote for me because I come from the North. Vote for me because I'm a Muslim. Vote for me for that. He always espouses and says what he would do. And that is why you enumerated that in the elections has different strengths for him to speak to the delegates and for him to speak to the people of Ghana. So this is subdivided, and he has never made any statement anywhere, vote for me because I come from the North.
Well,
but it also dispels that notion that the former President Mahama had said that he lives to see a day that Dr. Bawumia would not be used and dumped. So for us to make this statement is not to justify why Dr. Bawumia should be voted, but to tell the people out there that the notion that has been held, the long-term notion that has been held, has been dispelled by the delegates of the party.
So now deal with me on living conditions.
In terms of living conditions or performance as ranked by these particular candidates, we have all seen what the MPP has done from 2017 to the time that we had global crisis. We have changed so many things that has worked against us. Even at the time that we did not have light on, we had to make several adjustments to be able to make sure that businesses thrive. Businesses that had operated at 30, 20, 10% has been moved to operate between the ranges of 90, 100, 70% because of the absence of electricity. You look at job creation, we vigorously made sure that policies, deliberate policies were tailored to be able to support the employment opportunities. Go to the local government sector, go to the health sector, go to security sector, go to agriculture, go to industry. What has been done by the New Patriotic Party government? And at the event of a global crisis, what was the approach of the New Patriotic Party's government to the instance of what was happening as compared to other countries, how this was being managed? This was a clear demonstration that the MPP at a very difficult time has the resilience to be able to take the people along. And this is why you have seen the immediate pickup of the economy, where we had gone to at the stage that every nation across the globe was running into negatives. We had came to stood at 0.9. At this particular stage, our economy is growing, inflation is going down, many more jobs are being created, even though we have not been able to solve the job situation in the country. But we have demonstrated courage so that at least we would be able to do more if we are given more opportunity. And that is why in the victory speech of His Excellency the Vice President, he said a good number of things and said that he's a man on his own, that he would take his own decisions on his own. And that is something that we must be looking at. And I've said it here. Vice President Mahama, what he did as Vice President, what the Dr. Bawumia did to assist, because he was not chosen as Vice President to insist.
But does it feel the pressure that he will be attached, or he's been attached to the performance of the President? Because to say so could be some tacit admission that people attach you to the performance of the President and that you want to assert your own independence and lay out your own vision.
Salam, why will he run away from it? He has demonstrated that what he has been able to proffer in the assistance of His Excellency the President, what did he do to assist in the achievement? Talk about digitalization. He had clearly demonstrated that he brought up or he championed that aspect to digitalize the economy.
The effect or impact of the digitalization of the general economy?
We have been able to take away several things in terms of the involvement of human beings in the
and what has been the impact, the result of that on the economy?
The major result that you see, the NDC gets a platform. They tell you that we have gotten more money than any other person. We have raked in more revenue.
To what end? I mean, what has, I don't want to say what has it been used for, but what transformative thing have we seen as a result of you raking in more money?
Look at what the digitalization that he did at the ports. Look at the usage of the introduction and generalizing the use of the Ghana card. People who have gone, like you take a loan from Barclays or Absa Bank, then you go at the same time to go and take a loan at CBG. In these particular instances, they would be able to know that you are taking this loan to go and pay this particular one. So it's just a transfer of cash, but not redeeming your loan facility. So the instance of digitalization has assisted to eliminate a good number of things that would have given people platform to perpetrate fraud. And this is a very clear demonstration. You look at the introduction of this drone system. This is a very good policy that His Excellency the Vice President, in his bid to assist His Excellency the President, brought up this particular very clear initiative to be able to assist His Excellency the President. And you can talk about the achievement of this particular drone facility that is assisting in health delivery in our country. Look at how he championed the delivery of this one constituency, one ambulance system. At the time, what was the range?
But is that not a major government policy? Is it the one
but he was the one that was leading that. That is why Franklin had said that. Is it that he has used the PEP project? You know that it was under the office of the Vice President. And this was being implemented through his direction. So he has contributed enough and demonstrated knowledge in terms of how the economy should be run. And today, we can all say confidently that the economy of our country, even though where we want to be is not where we are, but we have been able to move away, looking at our contemporaries, other countries, other nations, where we were all left in terms of the devastating nature of COVID. At least we have been able to move somewhere. MPP is not saying we have brought heaven to the people of Ghana, but we are telling the people of Ghana that we will be in the position to stand with them. We will be in the position to change and to tell them that the alternative that we're talking about is very scary and does not have any alternative solution to where we are. We all accept the fact that
24-hour economy, which is a major policy proposition by the NDC.
Please multiply 24. How many 24 hours is in a year? You get it? How many?
If you are going to run 3 shifts, it will solve problems of unemployment.
The person telling you was given the instance to insist. He had the opportunity to use that 24 hours. But he told you in his own book, My First Coup d'etat, that as a young man riding bicycle down the lane, could not take a decision on his own. And as a result of that, when he got the position to insist, appointed 3 wise men to advise him. And at the end of the day, he chose one person from a particular side to choose who get access to him, even denying the opportunity of one of the 3 wise men. That forces the current speaker to voice out. So he himself, that is telling us that he's going to employ 24 hours, was given millions of hours for 4 good years, free of charge, to insist. And he has not been able to do. So he has demonstrated lack of courage.
No, ideas come every time. I could have an idea in the 4th year of my 4-year term. It just means that the idea just came, given the circumstances of the time. So unemployment is so high to the extent that we have to think outside the box. The economy is so bad that we need to think outside the box. So 24 hours is no more, the 8-hour shift is no more enough. And so he is saying that he wants to run a 3-shift system, so that we have maybe 8 to 1, maybe 1 to, there's a way they've segmented it. So that around the clock, you have people working every time. This means that you could employ twice as much as those working. And the output to be greater. That's what he's saying.
The man is so desperate to get to power. He will do everything to get the mindset of the people.
He said this in 2020, just that it didn't gain a lot of grounds.
This is a man that Ghanaians cannot trust. He has been given that opportunity. He's not been able to do that. If Akufo-Addo is telling you this, you will be asking these questions. He has been given the opportunity. He's the first person as a sitting president to lose and come back and lose again. Do you get the point? So Ghanaians are very much aware of him. They know his traits. And remember, as he's raising his boost to come, he told us one time that he's going to stop promising. And this time, he has started promising. And he said one time that they will promise and get the power. And he said that Ghanaians have short memory. And that has been a very shocking instance to the people. So, for the alternative, it is not there.
It's scary.
It's very, very scary. So, the MPP offers the opportunity. So, if I want to go the line of Franklin, let's compare Dr. Bawumia and compare that of Vice President Bawumia and compare that of the Vice President Mahama. Let's compare. Let's send it to the north
and see what has changed in the living conditions of the people of the North.
I see.
As Vice President Mahama, what was his impact? And that was, if you take 2009 to 2012. And at some point in time in July 2012, when we lost President Mills, he became the president. Do you get the point? Count what was the impact as vice president. His own people were looking for a region. As vice president, he could not, in his assistance, to be able to offer that platform. In Vice President Bawumia, his people were looking for a region. And you know that a region gives the platform for more development opportunities, more budget, more allocations to be done. At that instance, as vice president, 3 regions were created from the North.
But has that really seen it? Like,
yes,
like Franklin
it has.
is saying,
it has.
It hasn't really brought in
It has brought. It has brought because
an improvement.
It has brought because go to the Northeast region. You would see that we have the Regional Coordinating Council, which wouldn't have been there.
So which is now
a lot of
focusing on
a lot of more people have been recruited and employed into that sector in the local government sector. And that was where we had to go for policy credibility at the IMF. That has to hinge on the fact that any graduate that has graduated from school cannot get access to job because we lost credibility. So in the instance of creating the regions, you give the opportunity to recruit a plumber, you give the opportunity to recruit a local government expert, you give the so infrastructure is being built from left, right, center. Many other people, including the value chain, has been given access. Then you look at the introduction of the drone system. VOPSI has one. The building of school infrastructure. Look at their impact. The people of the North will tell you that we have physical projects when it comes to the existence of a Vice President Bawumia and when it comes to the existence of Vice President Mahama.
I see. Very well. Thanks. So now, okay, I get it. So we need to interrogate the vice presidential record as well. Let me take a short break. I'll return and hear from my other guests. And also, we'll look at what the two persons, Bawumia and Nanado, have to be doing. Nanado officially is now a lame duck president. Bawumia, what must he be doing? What will be on his to-do list? Uniting the party. And how should Nanado's conduct in power be? You know, should he allow Vice President Bawumia more, power in government? If he wants to take a decision, Bawumia doesn't agree because Bawumia is looking at his own election in 2024. How should that be? I will let my analysts deal with that. This is the big issue. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to the big issue. We are live on 97.3 Citi FM, also on Citi TV and other socials. We're looking at the Bawumia election, what it means for election 2024, vis-a-vis Mahama and Alan Chemantin and all the other factors. All right, so I'm coming to you now, Honorable Yunus Afuseni. He's been elected. On his to-do list, I think he has to maybe build bridges, the Kennedy supporters, even the Alan supporters. What approach should we use? We saw in 2007 how Nanado did it, giving all of them, all the guys who contested him, portfolio. So Alan, for example, was in charge of identifiable groups. Others were in charge of the economy. Others were in charge of many things. What should his approach be? Should he disengage from mainstream government work and focus on the work of becoming president, even though he's vice president? How should it be? How should he treat promises that he has made or his government has made? They've been unable to deliver. And also, the lame duckness of the president. How should his decision-making be, especially in view of the fact that he wants to help him break the 8, or he wants to, as it were, make Bawumia the president? If he takes a decision, Bawumia says, no, I don't think this will inure to my benefit as flag bearer. Should he change it? How should it be? Can you put all of this together for me as you respond to
well, I think that to respond to you first before I come to deal with Haruna's issues and the matters he has raised. The Nana Akufo-Addo I know and have experienced will not share his presidency with Bawumia for the remaining term of office. So if it is Bawumia's wish or the MPP's wish that Nana Akufo-Addo become a lame duck president, I think that they have to look for it somewhere. I don't think that will happen. Now, Haruna has invited me to consider the performance of Vice President John Dramani Mahama against the performance of Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia. I'm just going to give him some 2 or 3 things that Vice President Mahama did that clearly Bawumia has not been able to do. The total debt of Ghana, then Vice President Mahama as chairman of the economic management team, was 35.1 billion. That was the total debt. The debt to GDP under Vice President Mahama being the chairman of the economic management team was 48.4%. Today, everybody knows the debt to GDP as Bawumia as chairman of the economic management team. As chairman of the economic management team, Vice President Mahama recorded the highest growth in Ghana's history, 14.4%. 14.4%. As Vice President of the economic management team, Mahama recorded the longest, as a chairman of the economic management team, Mahama recorded the longest single-digit inflation in this country, 33 months. As Vice President Mahama, as chairman of the economic management team, the cedi to the dollar was 2 cedis. 2 cedis to the dollar. 2 cedis. And Mahama was the chairman of the economic management team. The total revenue, including borrowed money to Ghana when Vice President Mahama was the chairman of the economic management team, was 70 billion. And that manifested in all the development projects, including the schools and the trees that were removed, the secondary schools that were built, the roads that were done as Vice President Bawumia. I agree entirely with Haruna. This election 2024 is going to be about trust. To be honest with you, it's trust. So who can you trust? Do you trust a vice president who goes to stand at Agbogloshi and promises toilets and bathrooms and delivers no toilet or bathroom? Do you trust that person? Do you trust a vice president who stands on the national platform and says that, oh, because of the disparity between Zongo communities and mainstream communities, we are going to build model schools in all the Zongo communities and ensure that they have a decent place to send their children, and nothing happens of that nature? Do you trust that vice president? Do you trust a vice president who, as a running mate to a president, propounds an economic theory to the effect that where the fundamentals of your economy are weak, no matter the level of propaganda you engage in, your exchange rate will expose you. And when he is in government and he's confronted with the same issue, he tries dishonestly to explain it away. Do you trust that vice president? Do you trust a vice president who has told you that, look, the guinea fowls that were being reared flew to Burkina Faso, and that when we come back, when we come into power, all the difficulties and problems in the north will be solved because I am one of your northern brothers. And we are told that we shouldn't bring ethnicity. And I agree with entirely, because there are so many issues in these elections than Vice President Bawumia. But it is Vice President Bawumia who brings ethnicity. You remember in 2020, Vice President Bawumia stood in the Upper East region and asked the people of Upper East region that Mahama had come again for their votes. That when he was given position as president of this country, Mahama should tell the people of Upper East region what he has done for them. He's not the same vice president. Bawumia, someone has told you The campaign of Vice President Bawumia was run on ethnicity and religion. Ethnicity and religion. The only claim to being the flag bearer of the MPP was because he's a Muslim and he's a Northerner. We will not go into that because I don't believe that Northerners and Muslims are so stupid as not to know who can perform and change their status and conditions in life and who cannot. Now, it's honesty. It's honesty and dissipation of resources that will define election 2020.
Honesty
and dissipation of resources, recklessness in the utilization of the resources of this country, that will define. Because you see, like the chairman of the TU said, Ghana is not poor. We aren't poor. It's the policies of the government that has made us poor. If not, tell me, COVID alone brought more than 33 billion cedis to this country. COVID, in terms of assistance. Have you read the Auditor General's report on the utilization of the COVID resources? Where resources were so dissipated with careless abandon that if you want to properly describe the Auditor General's report, it is a report on how not to use the resources of a country prudently. That is what the people of Ghana want to see change. Do you tell me that the people of Ghana are better under Bawumia and the Akosombo government? The World Bank, tells us that the policies of this government have reversed the growth in prosperity by sending millions of people.
850,000. 850,000 actually.
That is by that's by their calculation.
But you are quoting them.
I'm not quoting them. I'm saying the World Bank has said the millions of people.
But actually said 850,000.
850 have gone into poverty. Do you know what that means? That's a retrogression that is under this government. It is under this government that a country like ours cannot service its debt. Not even under Achampon. Not even under Achampon when we decided that we wouldn't pay because it was believed that the previous government had contracted the loans in ways that were inconsistent with the laws of the country. Not because we were poor. Not because we couldn't pay. It is under this government. I mean, if Ghanaians think that this thievery, corruption, perfidy must go on, that is a decision for Ghanaians to make. But it is under this government that you have a finance minister who benefits from contracts or loans that the country takes. And we see nothing wrong with that. We see absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is under this government that members of parliament of the government passed a vote of no confidence in their president because they challenged the decision of their president to continue to maintain one of his ministers in office. There's no problem.
But that has come out to be artificial.
What
because
artificial?
They say that there were some people who were pushing for that because of one or two things. And when those people were sorted, that campaign has died out.
Well, what is artificial about that? That you mean that the members of parliament did not openly issue...
They did, but we understand there were some factors which were generated.
You understand that way?
So we hear.
So you hear. Was it public?
Yeah, more or less. I mean,
who did the press conference? Because I heard them do press conference, please. And I heard them say, the president say, that look...
After IMF, he will consider their decision.
So I don't think that... I think that the president thought that their decision was important and material, but that the circumstances and the timing was wrong. But the fact still remains that if it were a purely parliamentary system of government, that would have resulted in the collapse of the government, the removal of the president, because they challenged his decision. It is under this government, that a minister of state has turned his home or her home into a bank. And we have no problem with that. We still think that we want to continue with this type. What we are asking for is, look, as a country, our resources must be for our own benefit. I always say that people challenge John Dramani Mahama on the basis of what he has performed. In fact, Bawumia was at the forefront of categorizing John Dramani Mahama as incompetent.
Yes.
And today, the competence of Bawumia has so manifested itself in such a way that he has run away from managing the economy for which reason Nana Akufo-Addo said he brought him to partner him into talking about something else. You know, he talks about the blue economy. So to be honest with you, I understand. I mean, he says John Dramani Mahama in his book said that he couldn't take a decision on his own. And then
that's a classic one.
No.
The bicycle downhill.
No. What I'm saying is that, and then he derides that. You don't see the conception. John Dramani Mahama is telling you that in taking decisions, you must ensure that you have the buy-in of everybody. You have the buy-in. You see, dictators and tyrants will never appreciate somebody who says that I don't want to take a decision on my own. I want everybody's buy-in so that I can see the global picture. It is because of the tyranny and arbitrariness of this government that we are suffering the way we are suffering. When we said that the free senior high school system was good, but two underlying conditions needed to be taken into consideration. One, the funding regime. We are going to pay, and the cost will escalate over a period of time. How are we going to fund it? What was the response? Even if it means using oil revenue to fund it, we will do so. Decisions have consequences. Make sure you have the support. You talk about 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy is a basic economic activity that people who want progress engage in. This alone. You are a lawyer. You are also a journalist. When you are not practicing your journalistic business, you are doing law. So you are dividing your time in such a way as to enhance your personal wealth and development. What's different from people are lawyers, MPs, and farmers. The same thing. And I'm happy that we have been talking about after, that is the African Growth,
Continental Free
Trade Area. Now, 24-hour economy must give us an opportunity to produce, to be able to meet the African market. In fact, it is not that different from industrialization, except that the concept is not talking to establishing new industries. The concept is talking to expanding the capacity of industries to meet demand. So if you don't understand it, say you don't understand it, but don't deride it. The countries that have progressed because of optimum use of resources. The industries must optimize so that the marginal cost of production will reduce. And John Dramani Mahama haven't had the benefit of being in office, being president, knows that the way to go is to push for the optimization of industry.
Very well.
And so, well, for me, let me conclude by simply saying that the people of Ghana know who they can trust when it comes to promises. Because trust, on the 7th day of December 2024, even though you will go in to cast your ballots, those on the ballot paper for presidential elections, The question will actually be, who amongst these people can you trust?
Very well. Bawumia, I come to you. I know you are running your own campaign, etc. But what should be on the to-do list of Bawumia now that he's been elected flag bearer of the party? Now, I'm careful, based on your education, not to say the leader of the party, which is a major takeaway from this program today. What must he be doing? And how should Nana-Addo conduct himself and the affairs of his government, knowing that he's lame duck now and has an objective of making Bawumia the president, his decisions, etc.? How should that be?
Salo, the people of Ghana need political leadership that's responsive to their needs. What they don't want is what is happening here. You did this, you did that, you did this, you did that.
Until recently, you were in this too.
Exactly, but that is why we have moved on. It doesn't help this country. It doesn't help. You want somebody who appreciates what is at stake. And what is at stake? The elephant in the room. If Nana-Addo is to conduct himself in any other way, if Bawumia is to conduct himself in any other way, debt. How are you going to address the debt? Right from the beginning, Alan proffered the 10-10-10 solution. You know, give across board a cut of 10% on principal, 10% interest rate over 10 years. They didn't listen. And look at where we are. Has Bawumia commented on the economy? The only way they can redeem themselves is to tell us something about the economy. Alan's GTP is looking at boosting revenue beyond. It dovetails into the end of the IMF program. In fact, it's concurrent, and it will start in 2025. Immediately he's in charge. So how do you boost revenue? Growth through trade. No nation in the world has developed substantially without heavy trade. And trade is production plus markets. Happily, Alan has set the framework in terms of production. He is the one who developed the PSIs that would revolve around local stuff, local raw materials that have heavy potential to make a difference. And they are already making a difference. Salt, cassava, you know about the ethanol factories that are being set up. Garments, you know what has happened to garments. Look at all of us, except Alaji, who is wearing a coolie high, and I don't know where he got his shirt from, you know.
No, he's saying it's been locally produced.
And then you have the markets, African Continental Free Trade Area, AGOA as well. So Alan has been instrumental to the foundation that needs to be exploited to drive growth and allow us to expand. How does he do that? You need executive authority to do this. They are fighting over who used executive authority for what. And over the years, we've realized that the people feel that the way both parties have used executive authority hasn't helped them. And don't forget, the presidency is the most powerful office in the land. Article 58.
Yeah.
It doesn't talk about parties. Article 58 doesn't talk about parties. It is about the individual personality who determines what to prioritize. So once you have a president, the president must prioritize what is important, not only to him, but to the people of the country. At the moment, what is important to the people? Jobs, growth, stabilizing the economy, growing the economy, jobs, more access to public services, better quality public services, clarity in education, all those things that matter to the everyday lives of the people. So if you don't put something down that impacts the economy directly, then literally you are just holding on to executive power for your own ends. And therefore, it's important that we get it clear that the only priority of the Ghanaian voter going into 2024, 7th December, is the presidential candidate, the personality who has a plan for resolving the economic issues beyond the IMF, who will take us out of the IMF effectively, and not only just take out of the IMF in terms of stability, but build on it so we don't go back there ever. And Alan has that plan. GTP, the Great Transformational Plan. Alan has it. It is there to be interrogated. Like Franklin said, we are meeting civil society on Tuesday. Civil society has invited Alan to come and engage. And when he goes, he will demonstrate that he's a pragmatic centrist. I wasn't surprised when Franklin was using pragmatism. He's a pragmatic centrist. In other words, in this country, we all tend to follow IMF proposals, true or false. So whilst we speak socialism and capitalism and all that, we all tend to try and deliver welfare to the people. In Alan's knowledge and estimation, the best way of delivering welfare is to open up opportunities. How do you do that? You have a lean state that facilitates private sector growth. That's what you do. And we've been talking about private sector growth for years without actually giving us the details and the sinews. The GTP tells you exactly how the private sector is going to be driven by a lean state, a lean government, so that we take away creation of wealth from the government, which is fueling the corruption, and center creation of wealth on the private sector. We must begin to celebrate the private sector for creating wealth, rather than keeping wealth creation within government ambits and being selective about private sector growth, and indeed criminalizing policy whenever government changes. NDC comes in, they'll criminalize everything NPP has done. NPP comes in, they'll criminalize everything NDC has done. And what happens? They build debt. Because the things they criminalize and stop pursuing are all based on borrowed resources. So you have a debt mounting that none of them can climb over because they are still borrowing to pay debt. You need to generate the resources from inside. Alan Kyerematen has demonstrated over the years that he understands how to create wealth within the country. So it's a question of electing the right person, a pragmatist, to lead us out of the woods. We have moved beyond equalization. You did this, you did that. MPP did this, NDC did that. That is not what voters of 2024 want to hear. Whatever you did before, we've had enough of it. Now, voters want to see a personality who will use executive power under Article 58 to prioritize their needs, to ensure that they can look forward to something, to give them hope that we can turn this country around, open spaces and opportunity for all.
Very well. I mean, so I'm just wondering, the way you speak, so are you, I've not heard you resign from the MPP. Obviously, an Alan person now as Movement for Change. What's your status now, really?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Movement for Change is a movement. It is not a political party.
But you're going against the party's candidate.
It's up to the party to determine whatever it is. As far as I'm concerned, I am prepared to vote for my MPP MPP parliamentary candidate. But in all of Ghana, there's only one president, one person who can meet the needs of Ghanaians at the presidential level, and that's Alan Kyerematen. And I'm going to vote for Alan Kyerematen.
And even though that breaches maybe what your party may talk, because you should all follow the party candidate. You are choosing another one ahead of your party's candidate.
That is where the party itself has been in self-denial and has shot itself in the foot. That is where, when you skew elections, you have a situation where a group within the party, a small group, are directed to provide a candidate who is not the choice of the majority. And so Mr. Kyerematen had to step out of the party simply because he had to sidestep that small group. Because once that small group is skewed to take a certain decision, then you are expected, in spite of the falsity of that decision, to stay in and follow and keep quiet when you know that you are being led to the slaughter because that decision is simply not right for Ghana. And so the Movement for Change has sidestepped the Electoral College of the MPP. It is offering Mr. Kyerematen as the best and most viable option for the presidency of the Republic. It's up to the NPP as a corporate body to determine whether or not they want to lose parliament as well.
Okay. All right, Franklin, we are wrapping up. My guests, two of them especially, have tried to nicely skirt around the issues around the to-do list for Bawumia and what the lame darkness of Nana Addo will be. Hopefully, you don't do the same. What should you be expecting Bawumia to do now? How does he bridge the gap? How does he bring back persons who were initially aligned to Alan Kyerematen and also now Kennedy Japan? Very divisive campaign they ran. How does he do that?
Well, I thought you asked the question before this one. I think you refined the question. The original question was, what should Nana Addo be doing as well?
Yes, so it's all together. So it's lame darkness and all of that. So it's all put together.
I see. Well, I had my good friend Nana Addo suggest that you do everything, you move heaven and earth in order to make Bawumia. And I was wondering at the point whether he was not the same person who promised that he would deliver the cathedral by the end of 2020.
No, but he still says he will do it. I don't know how, but he still says he will do it. And it's God's house. It can be built miraculously.
You know that is
no, miracles still happen. I mean, this is God's house.
Mathematically, physically, and spiritually impossible. So I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, look, the president said he's going to help his candidates, and I think he will. But he also needs to come to the table by making sure that he says certain things, probably recants a number of things that he had actually done. It is important for him to say that, look, I had the largest government ever in the history of this country. I didn't listen to when people were telling me things were going wrong and I needed to change the shape, maybe the crew of the ship. I did not do so. In fact, what I did was actually add another crew member at some point. I need to be sure that my preferred candidate, Bawumia, would not go on that path. I need to be sure that, look, I promise that nobody is going to receive a haircut. And these things are personal to some of us. Indeed, personal to many people. And it's not because I received a haircut. It was an ugly haircut, by the way. I suspect everybody received a haircut anyway. It's not. But you see, these are personal issues, and the ramifications are legit. If you thought that the economy of everybody, a while ago I was telling you we probably do not have to compartmentalize poverty, because what makes me poor today may be different from what makes me poor tomorrow. But the fact that the matter is that poverty exists, and there's been some paucity, there's been the levels of poverty across the entire breadth of the country, as witnessed by persons, may be different, but indeed there's been poverty. And it's been due to the poverty of decision making, which my good friend Nana Addo superintended at some point. I think it is important that he says these things and say that, look, I'm sorry, there were things that I promised to do, but because of my hard-headedness and strong-headedness, I actually forgot, and I'm sorry. My beloved son Bawumia should be looked on with pity because he's not going to do something of that nature. In any case, these are just sermons from me. As many people will take it, that's another matter. But I'm just saying that being a lame duck president does not mean that by suggesting that he wants to help his preferred candidates, he should be out there making enormous promises or singing the very tune he sang from his own hymn sheet, which did not help us in that particular cause. It is important for him to leave Bawumia to actually face the entire country, and also answer the question how he's going to move the country from taxation to production, because that is really, really important. As we speak right now, businesses are suffering. Many businesses are not able to. I wonder how businesses survive actually, because if you thought about it, really, interest rates are in double digits, and inflation is almost in double digits as well. And I'm wondering how anybody running a business can actually make a profit and then reinvest in the economy. So Bawumia would also have to tell us exactly how he wants to build a private sector that can deliver effectiveness away from the inefficiencies of government. Because we've seen how governments are becoming efficient anytime they are at the behest of the economy. It is important for Bawumia to say, for instance, that look, procurement, which happens to be the harbinger of corruption, which we saw a lot under this administration. In fact, at some point, close to 95% of all procurement probably were not done through the give me system, right? They were not being done through the system that had been agreed upon to be done in some regard. It was little wonder you saw that the Auditor General's report suggested that only 25% of all COVID money was actually used for COVID issues, COVID-related interventions. It is because of procurement. And I'm sure you know the history of money and the number of agencies under this administration when it comes to procurement. Procurement is the most important avenue through which politicians make money. And it is unfortunately one of the things that has rocked this administration. And I'm sure Bawumia would have to deal with it. He also needs to deal, obviously, I've mentioned the issues about debt. It's front and center. And my good friend, GTP man in the studio. The name is Bawumia has seen that is one of the critical issues we need to be dealing with as well. It is important because how we deal with that matter determines the future of this country. In fact, as we speak, if anybody wins, if whoever wins the presidency would have to deal with the fact that for the next 4 years, we are in the throes of an economic program whose only survival would depend on how government behaves. And how government behaves is a function of how many people are appointed into office, the caliber of persons that are appointed into office. In fact, we now have to have a conversation about how a potential Bawumia, potential Mahama government will copy from the habits of what I call highly effective countries. And it's important that we do that. And by the way, these things are not new. We keep saying that to develop this country doesn't take, I struggle to understand why it's so difficult to do. And it's difficult to do only because when politicians take charge, they want to appease everybody. And so they divide the entire resources of the country, doing bits and pieces and not necessarily following through. And the bits and pieces they do, eventually 70% or 80% gets procured wrongly and ends up in their pockets. I think these are matters we need to deal with. And whoever promises to do these things pragmatically, honestly, and indeed through meritocracy, will definitely be giving the Ghanaian a very good run for his or her money. It is important that this becomes the front and center of any election. And so Bawumia would have to deal with the issues, legacy issues, and indeed the Nanado would also have to be calm in making sure that he doesn't annoy a lot more people in trying to deliver Bawumia. Indeed, he has to be careful because if he doesn't say certain things right, people may come after him, and indeed Bawumia will suffer as a result. Already Bawumia is accused, and rightly so, as being gathered in the loins with Nanado when it comes to the economy, and also simply because of the many things he said during the last several elections, you see. So it is important that he tries to address all these issues, and let's see how it turns out really.
I see. Very final one on this. Will Nanado be an asset or a liability to the Bawumia campaign, given the economy, given the performance and everything? What do you think Nanado will be to Bawumia? And you think Bawumia should openly associate with him, or he should find a way of breaking quite clean from him so he does his own independent, in quote, campaign?
As of now, Bawumia and Nanado share the assets and liabilities of this government anyway. So it's a 50-50%. Now, if I were at Bawumia, I'll be careful how I deploy Nanado in going to probably increase my liabilities, because we already share 50-50. So if I don't take care and I add in, it depends on where I would like him to go and speak. I probably will not put him on several campaign platforms. I'd rather make maybe, and again, I'm not necessarily saying that's what Bawumia should do, but I'll be very careful asking Nanado to speak on many issues, especially the economy, to me. In any case, but let's be fair, Nanado, my good friend, has actually already given up the ghost really when it comes to the management of the economy. I think he said a while back that he's run his race, and the next person will come and deal with the challenges of the economy. I think he said that.
That's on August 26th. He said they are electing a new leader to deal with the economy. That's how the super delegates election.
So clearly, my good man Nanado has actually given up the ghost, not physically, but in all forms, spiritually, cathedral, and indeed, when it comes to the economy, he's actually giving up the ghost as well. So, Bawumia will be well advised.
Very well. Thanks so much. I'll take a break. When I come back, we look at the matter of Akosombo. It's a major matter on our list, and we have to see what we can do. The matter of resettlement hasn't really come up. What can be done about that? Should there even be a discussion at all? Are we in a position to resettle the people? What must we do? We know about the Volta River Trust Fund. How much is in there? What can it do? We'll be right back. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. Just gone by, it's a heated political discussion on Bawumia, the NDC, Mahama and Alan Tremantin, whether indeed we are breaking the 8, upholding the 8, or breaking the duopoly. Interesting discussion, and it will continue. Such discussion, you don't have a conclusion. It will continue to the very end, where December 7 will deliver the outcome, whether indeed we are breaking the 8, we are upholding it, or we are breaking the duopoly. So we'll keep our eyes we'll keep watching that space. Now let's move to the humanitarian matter happening in the Lower Volta, some parts of the Greater Accra region, some parts of the Eastern region. About 40,000 people, quite unprecedented in our history, have been displaced, and there is very little in terms of the talk about resettlement. People have said that the guys there need to be resettled because, indeed, as the Energy Minister said in Parliament this week, if the situation or the circumstances that led to the spillage repeat themselves next year, they will spill again to protect the sanctity of the dam. Of course, we do not want the dam to break because the consequences of that will be very, very, very devastating for a lot more people. So we owe it as a duty to ensure, despite the economic benefit of the dam, to ensure that the dam itself operates and its sanctity is maintained. What happens to the people who live there? Are they likely, should they be allowed, or would they be made to suffer again like this next year if the circumstances require so? 5 years' time, the circumstances require so. How long can they keep suffering this? And what then becomes of their lives? Must they leave their place? Is there anything government can do to facilitate their movement from the place? Shouldn't we start looking at the matter of resettlement, building new communities for them so they can move far away from where the devastation itself is? It may get there, but it may take some more spillage way beyond what we see now to get there. What is the solution on the table? I think I'll start with you, Honorable Ines Afuseni, on this. What should the plan be? And do we get the impression from government that government appears is committed to resettlement? I didn't get that from the Energy Minister's speech. It didn't actually come out. No clear way forward actually came out in his speech or in his address to Parliament in respect of this.
The Volta region, and particularly the Akosombo Dam spillage matter, has been a matter of grave concern and betrays the lack of preparedness by government and governmental institutions for emergencies of that nature. Clearly, in view of what is happening globally, climate change conditions, and El Nino and other climatic situations are occurring, our ability to predict the rainfall patterns and the quantity of rains or rainwater that we'll get is continuously challenged. And so mitigation efforts are those that are required in issues or in matters of this nature. And it is true that where the dam exceeds its capacity, because every dam is constructed to hold a certain volume of water. And where the volume of water exceeds the capacity of the dam, the integrity of the dam will be compromised. Now, the only way that you can continue to maintain the integrity of the dam is to let some of the water go out of the dam. Now, and that is where the challenge is. The water leaving the dam, and that is what I see happened in the case of the Volta River Authority. It must be controlled in such a way that it doesn't flood and inundate the whole area at a go, and that people who are potentially to be affected will be moved out of harm's way, so that you are able to tell that you are going to release this cubic feet of water or cubic meters of water at this particular time. And you calculate how it will flow along the corridor, and so that you will program your next release of water. But this does not happen, or if it happened, the way it happened was not that effective and efficient, that the people were caught and they have to live in conditions that clearly derogate from the dignity of humans. I think that in future, we will continue to record. And we better have water than not having water, because the Akosombo Dam is built to provide us with close to 1,000 megawatts of energy. And so we will continue to retain the water to be able to produce power. Its power is the cheapest, apart from power generated from nuclear. it's the cheapest. So we will continue to generate power from that. We only will want to employ on state institutions, and particularly the Volta River Authority. And they have got the Volta River Authority Resettlement Fund.
Trust fund, yes.
Trust fund, which was set up when the dam was built, because they knew that many communities along the pathway of the dam will be inundated, and some of them will have to move and resettle. But resettlement has been a great difficulty because the Constitution sets up the criteria for resettling people. Their social and economic conditions must be taken into consideration when resettling. So, for instance, the people in the Akosombo area, if their way of life has been fishing, you must resettle them on areas or riverbanks which can allow and support their conditions of life and their economic activities. How do you do that? So, clearly there is a challenge. But presently, what we should be doing as a people is to ensure that the institution managing the Volta River Authority, or the institution managing the dam, which is the Volta River Authority, must conduct itself in such a way that it is abreast with water inflows into the dam, that when they are going to take an action to safeguard the integrity of the dam, that all the communities that are downstream are involved in the decision making and the preparatory steps to get them out of harm's way, that the release of water from the dam must be controlled in such a way as to reduce the damage that will be done to those living downstream. And if we are able to do all these things, it will mitigate the impact of the spillage, which will obviously come if we have more water in the dam on the lives and lifestyles of the people living downstream.
I see. Interesting. Very little has been spoken about in terms of resettlement. All we do is to go through some relief items at the people. You know, I'm not sure what the discussion has been at the interministerial committee set up to deal with this. Are you getting the impression that the issue about resettlement, you know, compensation, etc., is front and center of government's approach to dealing with this humanitarian crisis?
It depends on the context in which you view resettlement. If you view it narrowly, then perhaps you are missing the opportunity that this social disaster is giving the country to reset itself and look at the entire question of what happens in the Volta Basin as a whole. In terms of resettlement, we have experience. We've done it in the Keta Lagoon area before. But I think this is an opportunity to go back to the drawing board, look at the entire blueprint, and review why we are allowing millions of gallons of fresh water to simply be dissipated into the ocean. Millions of gallons of fresh water. And if we were to deal with this upstream and develop the kind of canals and things that would imagine the support to the livelihoods that he is talking about, then it means you can actually resettle people along man-made canals and rivers and get them doing the fish farming and the farming that will actually boost their lifestyles and economies. They are still artisanal at the moment. Those who came and for want of the infrastructure put commercial farms within the lake itself have lost everything. Have lost everything. So doing something innovative and different is a non sequitur. And let's not talk money. And this is where we as a country must be going if we are going to have growth. We have the Paulugu Dam, which will cost us about $930 million. We are waiting to borrow $930 million. And then,
in fact, we were told 3-4 years ago that end of this year that was going to come on stream.
There's nothing happening there.
But nothing is happening there.
So imagine that you have a network from Paulugu down towards the bottom, which can recycle some of this water before it even gets into the turbines. Assuming you are spending $2 billion, $2.5 billion. Are you telling me you can't transition private capital in Ghana to that? If you are securing guarantees for return of that money, because VRA is a blue chip entity. and in American terms or in the European markets, if you say blue chip, it means that it's a stock you can't lose. And VRA, by nature of the institution it is and what it does, it's virtually guaranteed that if you put money in it, you can't lose. But somebody must lead and point us in that direction and change the dynamic of how we view these things and think. Instead of sitting back now that the larger issues are over, that's your worry. No, the spill is over, so gradually we drift off into other things. And come a year, people have been left to struggle, and then all of a sudden they are inundated again because nothing was thought through strategically. This is a major opportunity to rethink the entire basin, Volta River Basin, particularly in the light of Galamsey and the other rivers that are going bad from mining and all that and all that. But my headache is the amount of water we are losing. Not to talk about the people who have been victims of this. So there must be a holistic plan. And we can develop it. There should be established a multi-task force with different capacities managed by VRA under perhaps one or two, it doesn't have to be several ministries like it's there, but some sort of supervisory agency at cabinet level to revisit what this whole concept was about since 1963. We should review compensation beyond giving money to people who have been affected and look at how we can do things that require major investments that will change the engineering profile of the area, that will afford opportunity for a real boost to lifestyles in terms of, yes, resettling the people, but in doing so, giving them new opportunities to be better at what they do before. Farmers must be settled to be better at farming because now you are using the same water to irrigate their farms. Fisher people must be better because now you are giving them opportunity to divert streams where they can rear fish and others to boost the economies of these people beyond the pheasant farming style.
In diverting the lake or the streams to other places, what happens when, so we're looking at a situation now where the dam is getting filled up.
Yes.
What happens in lean seasons or when we don't have a lot of rainfall? Those diversions, will they cause problems for the turbines in the dam proper?
Yeah, but you have the Polugu Dam up and you have Bagre Dam. So it's a matter of degree. You have canals that you open and close. So these are sluices allowing water through. If your general water level is down, you shut your sluices, you understand, and build up the water in the main dam. So we also have to realize that you have a big situation of climate change. But even in the dry season, when you don't have too much water, we still spill water through the turbines. Am I correct?
Yes.
There's always water going through the turbines. If you go to the estuary, where it enters the sea, there's volumes, millions of gallons of water going into the sea. And I'm telling you, if it were any other country where we're prepared to do some engineering,
so
that water will not
be
be
the level
allowed.
of devastation we've seen in the areas. I mean, the whole area is submerged, and now these are people trying to cut some of their belongings through the water.
It's so painful.
And look at homes.
It's so painful.
In some situations, the whole buildings, you can only see the roofing.
I had the opportunity of going to Mepe with Mr. Chairman.
The water course. Yes. You can easily identify the water course. So you see, it's policing the water course effectively.
This business about policing, breaking down things after we've watched them sprout, doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. Go and break houses. We are always trying short term.
No, because nobody's paying for them. Nobody's paying the price. So the assembly, they sit up. They sit there. People build anyhow. There's trouble. Then we must nib it from the top.
It must be part of a raft of measures. I am saying that we need to review the bigger issue, longer term, and accept accept that as Ghanaians, we can raise capital within Ghana. There are Ghanaian businessmen who have money, who are still investing in importing handkerchiefs from China.
Yeah.
socks, singlets from China. Some of those people who import shiploads of rice. You know how much a shipload of rice costs? There are dollar millionaires in Ghana who are heavily involved and would want to transition their capital into something, provided you can guarantee that they will get their returns back. And I'm saying that process of private state support, you know, we must think through it and have a permanent solution that uplifts the lives of the people around the occupations they are used to, but at a more, you know, rarefied level. That fishermen will be given a new lease of life, and that farmers will be given a new lease of life. Not necessarily uprooting them and dumping them on higher ground, because that will impact their social and economic lives. But it must be holistically thought through. And there's a plan. The original plan had a lot of these issues in there. Have we followed it? Disruptions of government here and there, it means we haven't followed that original blueprint. So there is something there. Go back to it. Perhaps even the fund, the resettlement fund.
And we hear
the way
every
it's designed
VRA is
at
to
the
put in
moment,
some $500,000.
yeah, the way it's designed at the moment may not be resilient enough, may not be responsive enough. Nothing stops a review of the structure of the fund. You understand? This is a big asset. It is not cheap.
Yeah.
And we can raise money into that asset and do something entirely different. I cringe whenever I go near that estuary and I see the millions of gallons of water
just getting into the sea.
Going out to sea.
I see. All right, Franklin, there was a plan, but it appears the plan is not being followed. When you listen to all of this and you observe the situation happening there, does it appear that we actually want to solve this, or we have what we take to resolve the matter, as my two earlier panelists have said, or have proffered? Hello, Franklin, can you hear me?
I don't think we have a history. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
I think my internet is
a bit delayed.
acting up today.
Okay.
Sorry, my internet is really right. You know,
I think Franklin's network indeed is acting up.
I hope that it doesn't. Well, it's already a ritual in this book. As I was saying, it's almost a ritual.
No, Franklin's line is
calamities, the ones we just witnessed. Can you hear me?
We're struggling, but let's see if it's getting better.
Oh dear. All right. Well, as I was saying, I think it's become a ritual, isn't it? The way we deal with these matters that actually come to us. I'm hoping that this will be the last of this kind of response that we've already given to the calamitous events. On the issue of resettlement, I think we need to go back to that subject. We must agree, though, that resettlement was part of the plan initially, and all those persons who are currently around those areas were not supposed to be there. I mean, let's face facts. I mean, that's the story. The initial resettlement plan did not envisage that those areas would be encroached, which is true. So how we deal with it is that how we not settled with formerhood, because trust me, the climate is not changing, and it's constantly changing, and I'm not sure this will be the last of what we've seen. So I think resettlement again would have to be part of this plan, and how we deal with that. Unfortunately, I do not have any answers for that, but I think if I were living in those areas, I don't think I'll be going back anytime soon at all. I really would not wish to go back there at all, because climate is changing and it's going to continue to change, and not for the better, but for the worse.
I see. Thanks so much, Franklin. I end with you, Haruna. People think, what's government's plan really? People say they've not seen much on the ground. They've not seen any commitment. Energy minister was in parliament. He didn't really say much about the people. He only said that the dam will be spilled again if they have to spill it and all of that. What's the conversation?
Salom, the Volta River Authority, since the inception of this particular devastating act, has been on the ground. People will have the right to say they have not seen much because the extent of this dam issue or the water issue is very worrisome, and I think that work might have been overwhelmed with regards to the nature of devastation that has hit the good people of Volta, Oti, Eastern, and part of Greater Accra. It is something all of us as a nation will need to look at. But in that instance, government has tried as much as possible to do its bit. And I must also commend the Citi TV, Citi FM for that kind of humanitarian service that you have offered to assist the good people of the Volta, Oti, and then the other parts of the country. I think that we should have a national discussion on how we should deal with this particular matter. We should get experts to look at it, because if you look at the periods on which this dam has been spilled, ranging from 1963 to date, and you look at what happened when I listened to Bernard and Co. when they went to Mekpe and Bakpa, the new Bakpa, they did indicated that the last time it happened to them was in 1963, and they were not being resettled, and there has not been any trace of any government that has taken the initiative to resettle them until Citi FM is taking that particular, Citi FM, Citi TV is taking the initiative to build a whole community for them. I think we should have a national discussion on this matter. Relook at some of the expendable areas that VRA should be looking at in terms of the package that is being put. And we also get a very good demarcation, like what Honorable Yunusa has said. If you look at it, you see that this is an area that water passes through. And I also share much with what YB has said. Water is a resource. The water that is being sent away is a resource. Once that resource also goes, it distracts other economic activities and the living standard of the people. So we must also look at how we'll be able to complete the Palogu Dam. That will also generate some power for us. And then also look at how to get a closer by dam that can at least contain some level of water. When in dry season, these water can be repumped back into the Akosombo Dam if we are losing water, as is being said. So these are areas that we have to look at as a nation, because this cannot continue to happen when I know very well that when I go back, water will come and take over of me again. And Salom, before I conclude on my discussions on this matter, I want to correct one thing with regards to the economic management team. In 2009, that was somewhere 28 April 2009, the NDC government under Professor Mills set up an economic advisory council. There was nothing like economic management team. But what was the difference? I want to state that was headed by Dr. Gabin Nankani, and then Toby Afede, Mr. Emmanuel Ablo, Mr. K.Y. Amua, Dr. Kadman Atta Mills, Professor K.N. Afu, Mr. Fred Ohini Kena, and Mr. Pakwesi Emisa Atta, Mr. Ismail Yamson, and Mr. Joe Hyde. There was no mention of His Excellency the Vice President. So in comparison of Vice President Mahama, Vice President Bawumia, if you mention any record, it's an achievement of His Excellency Professor Mills, but certainly not Vice President.
That's interesting. Yes. But I thought there was a ticket.
What is the legal basis of the establishment of an economic management?
But the point is leadership. The point here is leadership. The point here is leadership.
I'm not asking you. So how do you come by the term economic management?
Yeah, but
it was just a creation of
yes.
Economic management is a creation of the people.
In this case, we are talking about their vice presidentship.
And I'm saying that I'm actually.
Your point is that Mahama was not part of that.
He was the advisory team.
And he didn't lead it.
No, he's talking about advisory team. I'm just asking a simple question. what is the legal basis of the establishment of an economic management team?
They are to manage, and this
No.
They are to advise.
There's no legal basis.
They are to advise.
There's no legal basis.
There's no legal basis.
There's no legal basis.
But
The one which was chaired by the boss. There was a subcommittee. There was a cabinet subcommittee which was chaired by your boss, which was the one with the legal basis.
Yeah, what he has done is that. What he has simply done is that he's transposed an economic advisory team on an economic management team.
Yeah,
and he's seeking. No, please, let's talk. And you are seeking to argue that there is no economic management team.
Yeah, there was
under NDC.
My time is up. My time is up. All right, so this has been our show today. My name is Selam Adonu. My guest, Franklin Kujo, President in Mani Africa, Bawumia Samoa, Senior Advisor to Alan Chairman of the Movement for Change, Enusa Fuseni, former Minister for many portfolios and former MP for Tamale Central, and Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MP. My name is Selam Adonu. Thanks so much for watching us. Catch you same time again next week. Have a good afternoon.